Hey guys, what if Naruto x Arturia Pendragon x harem movie? Within Grail has two beings, one light and other darkness, to things that can't live without the other, and soon saw their most trusted servant coming forward before them. The ruler class servants stand before the Grail and its ones that live within it. You have summoned me, ruler said as he took knee, being male and covered by a black cloak. Justice Lizric von Einsburn, the light within Grail said, yes we have ruler. Something is happening within the Fourth Holy Grail War that requires your attention to watch and protect the Grail from any sinner's hands or to wish harm to mankind. I understand my mission, Justice, ruler said with a nod, understanding his mission. Yes, but know that this Grail War will be different from one you fought in. 7 masters and their servants will fight for the Grail while a watcher will make sure the Grail War plays out right, the darkness said, being a female and named Angra Mainyu. I see, so, no demi-servants fighting a war but just mages and their servants. That's understandable, and I will make no one as harm from the Grail War, ruler said. Go, and be safe Naruto, Justice said with a kind smile on her face. The ruler or Naruto took his hood off to show his smile at the Grail's light. This was Naruto Charlemagne Uzumaki, Holy Knight of the Veil, Hero of Hope, and rank a Saber ruler class servant. His hair was black as night with white understreaks and 6-pointed star on top his head. His eyes were blue as the sea and his face showed the looks of a noble knight with whisker marks on his checks. The black cloak hides his armor for now and will show it in time. I will Justice, Angra, Naruto replied as a magic circle comes underneath him, teleporting him to War Grail he must watch over, and disappeared within a white flash of energy. Fuyuki, Japan. Naruto opened his eyes to see he was teleported just outside Fuyuki City and could feel that Grail was starting soon as the servants will be summoned by their master's call. Good, I am on time, Naruto thought with a nod, getting up from his knee to his feet and summoned some cloths as a cover-up. The black cloak disappeared in blue dust of energy as set cloths appeared onto Naruto and was dressed as normal civilian. He now wore a blue shirt with black jacket, pants, shoes, and a red scarf around his neck. He checked his hand watch to see the time was midnight and will need to find a place to rest until the rest of the mages and their servants arrived in Fuyuki. Naruto won't know what hero will be summoned this Grail War until he sees them and judged if they should gain their wish from the Grail to the very end. Anything can happen in a Grail, but from he knows and lived through, that Saber-class servants are the mostly like to win the Grail War. But anything can happen and who knows who will win, but he can only find out for himself. Time skip as Naruto wanders Fuyuki, getting a read off the whole city that will soon have the Grail War take places and where he must do his job. He walked around, visiting good shops, talking to people of any strange things, or anything that catches his eye. The black-haired teen heard from some parents that they lost their children to a monster and caused him to raise an eyebrow at this. Wondering who could have done this, he promised that he will do his best to find any of the children that are missing and gain some tearful pairs to cry in happiness. Naruto took his time wandering the city, because he wanted to enjoy this quiet of peace before the war starts. Back in his world, the Veil, he would walk around for hours and talk to someone to pass the time. It helps a lot, and he just so happened to find a pair to talk with. 2 young women, one with white hair and red ruby eyes, wearing some white winter gear and made the teen to almost know her from somewhere. The other had blonde hair and green eyes, wearing a black business suit, shoes, and looked beautiful. Naruto shook his head, fighting off the blush, and soon got a reading on the blonde-haired woman, being said as his eyes shone a bit. Rank: Saber. True name: Arturia Pendragon, King of Knights. So the King of Knights has been summoned in this Grail War. That is interesting, Naruto thought with the eyes returning to normal and started to walk towards the pair. Hello, there, Naruto greeted the pair, getting their attention to look at him. Irisviel von Einsburn and Saber were taken back of someone greeting them. Being a normal human being and not any mages or servants, that was good, but wonder who is this teen that greeted them. Hello sir, Irisviel greeted. Greetings, Saber greeted as well. Sorry if I ask this, but are you two willing to walk with me into town for some lunch and good talk around to the beach? Naruto asked. Why? Irisviel asked the sudden question. Don't think of anything bad. I just happened to show in Fuyuki and feel very lonely on my own. I happen to like to talk to someone when going out for lunch and talk afterwards, Naruto answered, truthy. Irisviel didn't see no harm in that, and a good lunch could help ease some things down before the war starts. Saber was worried of this person that just asked them for lunch and talk, but a good meal could help calm things down, and this strange look like noble from her time era. The two looked each other, which gained a nod that it was okay to. Other and white-haired woman said, "Very well, we will join for lunch, but I think we should introduce ourselves." "Quite right, my name is Naruto Kid." Naruto introduced himself. "My name Irisviel, but please call me Iri, and this is Saber." Irisviel introduced herself and Saber. "It's nice to meet you, Naruto," Saber said with a calm smile. "And you as well. Now let's head out for lunch, my treat," Naruto said as the group of three walks towards a nice place for some lunch. Time skipped. The group of three had enjoyed their talk with the other and walked around town, going to different shops to try on different style cloths, walking through parks, and eating some food. They walk soon made it way towards nighttime and at the beach. Naruto had part ways with Irisviel and Saber, saying it was great time to hang out with them and hope they can do so again. He was happy he could talk to the King of Knights and hope the two could do more. For some reason, he felt at peace when around her, something he never felt before in a long time, and wish for that feeling to stay with him. But anything can happen, and something has happened. Naruto then started to sense a servant sending a calling card to other servants for a fight. He can't say who called the battle, but he knows for a fact that Saber would join in for sure, and he knows how knights love to fight in honorable battle against each other. The ruler will go and see how this first battle of the Fourth Grail War takes place. He then has his clothes disappeared in blue dust of energy, replacing them with his knight outfit and black cloak covering him. As ruler dashed towards the area where the first battle will take place, he started to feel that three servants were following him all of a sudden in their spirit forms. The first was a golden and divine aura with kingship following it, being unknown for now. The second was a hidden and dark aura with some assassin tricks, meaning an assassin class servant. The last was very dark, fire, and witch-like aura, but wasn't to cause harm and just watch him. Naruto will find out soon enough, but most focus on the matter at hand as he saw a vision coming to him. A saber and lancer fight one another but is stopped when Rider comes, and soon Archer then Berserker show up, being the first sign of the Grail War to start. Naruto hummed and trusted this vision he had gained as he kept going to the docks where the first fight will take place. These visions he gains are part of his skill as a ruler and helps him be ready for any outcome that may happen. He had vision of the first battle will take place and the outcome will lead to future battles that will take place in this Grail War, so that why he is here, to make sure the peace is draw and no people get in the crossfire. Small time skip. Naruto watched the battle between the two knight class servants and was enjoying on how the first battle was having two knights from different class. He senses the other servants were watching this fight, and with some mages in the shadows, most likely they're go to in Grail Wars these days. The ruler then saw assassin from above, watching the battle take place, and narrowed his eyes on what he had gathered so far on what happened in the Grail. He read who the assassin was and got rank. Assassin. True name: Hassan, Old Man of the Mountain. Naruto know all about that assassin due to deep a history he had with someone that hold and was bound with the skull-masked assassin. But moving on. The blonde had learned that the master of assassin lost his servant and is now in a church for portion. If that is case, then why assassin is around and what is his master's game? A good question that the black-haired teen will find soon enough. Naruto won't fight but will step in if things get out of hand. As a ruler, he must watch the Grail War to the very end, make sure the Grail is not used by any sinner ways, or have any civilians get got in the crossfire. This was a new change for him as he fought in one Grail War in his world and won but lost some of the people he cares about the most. Ruler shook his head and heard a lightning strike in the skies, which was odd due the clouds were calm and could sense a servant coming into the battle. Now he got to see this up close as he jumped to another shipment and got a closer work. With Saber. Saber had fought many foes in her life, but she then imaged she will face Lancer, or by true name Deermood, that rivals her in both combat and honor. She was grateful for this fight and fought with careful steps, but she gained a cursed wound on her left hand wrist and can't use her thumb to clench onto her sword or hold the sword in both hands for long. The two knights were about to clash one more but were stopped when a lightning bolt strikes before them and show the servant before them. The new servant was a young mature woman with long red flowing hair that reaches to her mind back, dark red eyes that spark with happiness, and wore a battle armor from Roman or Greek time of area with a red cape with golden fur. She rode chariot that can carried herself and her master. The chariot was pulled by two black massive ox-like horse having their hoofs spark with lightning. Sheath your blades, my fellow servants. The servant called out as she held rings of her chariot, getting the two servants look at her. Lighting sparks as the servant put her hands out and said, "I am the rider-class servant, summoned to fight in this Grail war." Saber and Lancer were taken back of Ryder appearing all of a sudden introduce herself. "What are you doing, Baka?" Ryder's master or Waver Velvet shouted at his servant on what she was doing and will do soon enough. However, he was rewarded with flick to the forehead by Ryder and launched backwards into the chariot. Ryder shook her head and then grinned as she turns her back towards the two knight servants. "Fate has yield and reward us of this moment. I have an offer. Why not give the Holy Grail to me and join me on my next conquest? You both will be honored as friends, generals in my army, and siblings on both on or off the battlefield." Ryder offered with a big grin on her face. The offer was great, but sadly the two servants won't being joining Ryder. Lancer shook his head and said, "As grateful the offer may be, but I must refuse. I only follow one man, my lord and master. I won't be giving the Grail up easily to the likes of you, Ryder." "Tell me, Ryder, do you come here to stop our battle with offers, rudely, hopping to gain something from it? This a gave wound to my honor," Saber said with her eyes narrowed. Ryder starched her cheeks and said, "I hope we can come to common." "Enough." The two servants called out. Ryder shrugged her shoulders and stroked her long hair with her left hand. "And furthermore, I am the rightful king of Britain. To put my loyalties to you will go against what I stand for," Saber said, not caring if she gives her true name out. "Oh, you are king of Britain? I am surprised to see a strong woman that is king like myself," Ryder said with a smirk as she placed her hands on her hips. "King?" Saber asked with an eyebrow raised, wondering what King Ryder was in her past life. Lancer wondered the same thing and some other masters did as well. "Yes, but first, Saber and Lancer, your battle was a true and honor battle that puts a song into my heart," Ryder said with her right thumb up. Now Saber was wondering why Ryder would jump into battle to only offer a pack and later thank it. This was an odd servant to say. "Your battle has called other heroic spirits to this place like moths to a flame, and that makes it more fun for me. Come out, cowards that hide in shadows, and face the wrath of Alexandria, King of Conquerors." Ryder shouted out loud with pride in her voice, not caring if she gives away her true name and caused her master to yell at her for being idiot. This was a mind-shocking news to the servants in front, others in hiding and master of Ryder giving her true name out. This woman was the king that conquered the no worlds. This person was Iskander or Alexander the Great. It was a shocking news to find that the King of Conquerors was indeed in fact a woman, standing before them. She and Saber have some things common after all. And a big battle was soon taking place, as if on time. Another servant started to appear out of spirit form and stand before all them on a light pole. Within a gold dust, a servant appeared that has a powerful and divine aura. A beautiful woman with waist-length golden hair, crimson eyes with black slits, pale skin, and a slender body that any women that will to die for. She was wearing a modified golden armor, with shoulder pauldrons and gauntlet on one arm, with an armored skirt, as she wore a pair of black short shorts that showed off her very nice behind and armored greaves from her thighs down. She was wearing golden boots with slight heels, as she wore high-thigh black socks that came up to her mid-thighs. She had a cloak that had a black top that only covered her shoulders and the top half of her breast, stopping just under her nipples, with the main portion of the cloak being a crimson red, as she had red tattoos on the sides of her stomach and breast, as she has the looks of pure royalty and demands respect from her. Some of other servants and masters known this servant was Archer, one who killed assassin, cough, false, cough. She opens her eyes with glare, looking down on the three servants like they were ants to her. "So lower beings stand before me, and even two of them call themselves king in my sight," Archer said with disliking in her voice. "I don't see the problem here, Archer, for I am Alexandra, the king that conquer the no parts of the world," Ryder said with questionable look on her face as she starches her cheeks, wondering why Archer was so upset about this. "Fool, I am the one true king of the world. If that is a problem, then why not introduce yourself? A king like yourself should not have problem within saying her name. So, you dare question me, filth mongrel, me, the one true king?" Archer snapped as she stepped on the light pole, breaking the light. Archer then looked at the servants, mostly Ryder and Saber, and said, "For your blindness to not see a true king standing before you, the punishment will be your doom." Two golden circles appeared by the servant's side, rippling as two swords came out and aiming at the fool. Archer smirked as her weapons pointed at Ryder, but this was stopped when something happens. "Kill them all," a voice said in the darkness, ordering a new servant to appear before everyone. A black mana burst outwards as the servant rose up from his knee position. The new servant was odd to make out, but looked like a black creature from hell, wore a black armor as knight with mist surrounding him, red visor, and feather coming down from his helmet. The black knight servant then rose up on his feet and let out a monster roar for all to hear. "Berserker," Saber said in shock as she stand in front of Irisviel, keeping safe from harm if anything happens. "So, King of Conquers, you are planning to ask him to join too?" Lancer asked. "Maybe not, he doesn't look like the type to listen to reason or offers," Ryder answered before looking at her master. "Hey boy, how powerful is that monster?" Waver was shaking as he couldn't read Berserker or his states, almost like he wasn't a servant. "I don't know," Waver responded with sweat coming down his face. "What? You are a master, are you not? You should be able to read a servant out, right?" Ryder said with questionable look before turning her attention at the Black Knight. "I know that it's servant, but that black thing, I can't it states or anything else," Waver replied. Ryder narrowed her eyes and looked at Berserker, knowing that this servant was no normal servant but something and will keep her guard up in order to protect her master. "It seems you will be facing other enemy," Irisviel said, knowing that the battle will get more fired up with 5 servants. "So, it seems, Berserker must have some type of skill that hides himself and skills from other servants, and there is Archer. This might get out of hand," Saber said, knowing that she might stand against 1 or 2 servants at once but against 4. That was another story, and with her left hand cursed makes this worse for her and her sub-master. Archer turned her attention towards the mad servant, who was looking at her and said, "Who gave you permission to look at me, rabbit dog?" Then Golden Circle turns towards Berserker, having a new target locked. "May your death give me some satisfaction, mongrel," Archer said with her arm crossed as the 2 weapons flew at the servant. The swords shoot at Berserker with great speed, getting small explosion on impact and caused shock wave. Saber shielded Irisviel, but soon her and her sub-master were shocked on what happened next. The black stood on his feet undamaged with a sword in his hands, shocking the other as well on what just happened. "Good God! Is that truly Berserker?" Lancer said in shock on what just he saw. For madman that has no soul or will of his own, he seems sane to me," Ryder said as her right hand rested on her chin. "Huh?" Waver asked, wondering what his servant meant. "What, you couldn't tell what he did?" He waited for the first blade fly towards to only take in midair and use it to destroy the second spear. Ryder answered as she and the other servants saw what happened. Berserker then looked at Archer, causing the golden-haired servant to be upset. "You dare lay your filthy on my treasure? You will have quick and painful death, dog," Archer shouted as 20 more Golden Circle appeared behind her with different kinds of weapons coming out. This caused the servants and mages to widen their eyes in shock on how many weapons were being unleashed before their eyes, just what kind of servant Archer was. "Now then, mongrel, let's how long your creep tricks can keep you alive," Archer said before unleashing her gate's power onto the mad dog in front of her. Berserker just stood there as the first set of weapons launched at him but grabbed the spear before it hit his chest and started to use the 2 weapons in his hands to swing at the weapons coming at him. He destroyed any weapons that were coming at before switching to different weapons and not let one of them land onto him. With a downward strike, Berserker destroyed a spear with 2 axes, creating a smokescreen and soon threw the axes towards the golden-haired servant. Archer jumped off the light pole to only land on the ground at ease and had angry look on her face. "Fool, I belong in the heavens, and yet you have me on the ground. You will die before my feet," Archer yelled as she summoned 75 golden circles, shocking everyone on how many she was summoning and not caring of showing the power of her gates in the open. Berserker just stood in his place, waiting for round 2 to start. But this second round was stopped when a new servant suddenly appeared out of nowhere and before the battlefield. The new figure was wearing a black cloak and hood as holding a sword's hilt in its white sheath. Some at first thought it was assassin but found out that it wasn't due to a few things, and one of them were that this figure had blue eyes. "Archer, you will stand down before you unleash any more of your power at this moment," the figure ordered. Archer glared at the newcomer, but it didn't move him. "You dare order a king to stand down, mongrel?" Archer snapped as she then aimed 5 weapons at the newcomer. First 5 weapons fire at the newcomer, but he just stood there and draw out his sword. Within a flash, the cloak flies off the newcomer as he draws out his sword and swung it downwards, summoning 3 blue sword keys with a feather hilt and destroyed the blades before it came close to him. Just look up Fate Extella Charlemagne for what Naruto is wearing. Irisviel and Saber both grasped in shock on seeing a familiar face, and that person was a servant. How could they not see or sense it from the start? Naruto is a servant, standing before them with a sword in his hands like Saber-class servant would, and what is his servant's rank? I dare, as I am the watcher of this Grail war, chosen by the Holy Grail to watch over the war and make sure the rules are followed. I am the servant, ruler, Naruto announced with his key sword vanishing, and puts his sword back but not letting his grip off his hilt, just in case. This news was mind-blowing event to all servants and some masters. The ruler class was one of the sub-class servants that could be summoned, and this was one can only be summoned by the Grail itself. Ruler. Haha. I am the true king and ruler of the world. To have some faker is something I can't allow to stand, Archer said, but was stopped when Naruto allowed his command spell to show behind him, showing an eagle with blade-like wings and proving his rank as a ruler class servant. I am ruler. I will use my command spells to have this fight be stopped, but I want and will ask you, King of the Golden Rule, to withdraw from his fight, Naruto said as he put his command spells away and lower his guard down bit, showing that he will not act. Archer smirked a little before flicking her right arm, having all the gates close and weapons back to the gate for now. She was somewhat happy that someone knows that she is king to be known by, and her master used a command spell to force her to withdraw. You were lucky, Mad Dog, ruler, mongrels. In our next meeting be ready for me. Only a true king may own my attention, Archer said as she disappeared back into spirit form. Ryder hummed and said, it seems Goldie's master is not well-minded to her liking. The conquer known from a look when a command spell is used and know that Archer was too prideful to withdraw and leave the fight undone. Before anything else, Saber heard Berserker grunting towards her and widen eyes when the mad servant unleashing a mana burst with a powerful roar to be heard by all. Irisviel, get back, Saber called out. Berserker dashed towards the light pole, grabbing it into his hands and jumped in the air to swing his pole downwards at the sword-wielding servant. Saber pulled her sword up, blocking the attack, and soon widened her eyes when seeing something off. What? Saber thought in shock when seeing the pole covered in black mist and red marks mana. Saber grunted as she pushed the pole away and soon blocked a swing to her right side, having the mad servant backing away. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Berserker, seeing that he can't read out the servant or know his true name, but he could tell it was a Berserker-class servant with some mad boosting to be stronger than anything normal servants. That might work, but the black-haired ruler wonder about the servant. So that what it is, whatever that things grabs onto, becomes his noble phantasm, Ryder said with her right hand on her chin, seeing the mad servant's skill firsthand. Lancer stood quiet and was about to jump to stop this fight but was stopped when Ruler put a hand on his shoulder and shook his head. The Lancer-wielding servant didn't why at first but soon saw the black-haired ruler drawing out his blade and dashed to help Saber. With a powerful swing of his sword, Naruto cut the light pole in half and kicked Berserker in his gut, sending him backwards. He then summoned a red sword key by his send and fired a power flame burst at the servant. The mad servant shielded himself from the attack as he was pushed backwards with his feet dig into the ground and roared angry at Ruler. Naruto turned his head back and said, "Are you all right, Saber?" "I am, but my left thumb is yet healed," Saber answered, meaning the curse wound she gained. "I see, that will make it hard, but I have feeling that we won't have to worry about Berserker for the moment," Naruto said as he turns his attention back towards the mad servant. Before Saber could spoke or ask why, Ryder then snapped the rings of her chariot and let out a loud battle cry as her ox rode with great speed towards her target, Berserker. The mad servant had little time to move out of way as he was roadkill by the massive horses and chariot. Berserker rolled into the ground and grunted in pain of the sudden attack. The Black Knight rose his head up and soon returned to his spirit form by orders of his master and need to heal his wounds. "It seems that servant is hard won, huh?" Ryder remarked as she watched the knight vanished. Within the shadows, Lancer's master was about to use a command spell to order his servant to kill Saber or Ruler for him to take the command spells. However, he was stopped when Ruler spoke out, knowing his plans and did not like it. "Don't even think about Master of Lancer, I won't have you stump over your servant's pride or honor as a knight," either you leave for the night, if not then I will join Saber and Rider to stop Lancer, and with 3 us fighting together, we easy destroyed your servant, so, what will it be? Naruto asked, giving the mage a choose and could sense the anger. The mage grunted in anger but saw that he will lose and said, fine, Lancer, that is enough for tonight. Lancer lowered his guard and was happy that Ruler stopped his master from doing something that will damage his honor. My thanks, Ruler, Lancer said his thanks. Naruto nodded his head with a small smile on his face, welcoming the thanks and watched Lancer vanishing into his spirit form. Rider, did you come to only offer an alliance? Saber asked, wondering if the Rider servant will attack her now. Honestly, I did and was worth a try, but the answer is still the same. Saber, you first deal with things with Lancer and then I will face the winner after the battle, being you or Lancer, Rider answered, getting Saber and Ruler happy of her answer. Now I must be going and hope I can have more fun like this night. Hey boy, don't you have anything nice to say to the lady and nobleman? Rider didn't get an answer from her master and soon picked the body of her master, being overwhelmed and fainted. I really wish he man up a little. Oh well, Rider said before turning his attention towards Saber, who smiled and nodded her head in thanks. Rider then snapped the rings, having her chariot being pulled into the air by her horses and flew into the night sky. Naruto then turned his attention back towards Saber and said, I am sorry if I wasn't truthful with you or Irisviel. While I did know you are servant to fight in this holy grail, I still had a good time and wish we can still be friends. Saber was taken back at this sudden apology and Irisviel was too. The white-haired woman soon walked towards the two and said, that's fine, I understand your reasons, but I never thought a ruler will be summoned in this grail war. Me neither, and I thank you, Naruto, for adding me, Saber said. You're welcome, Saber, Irisviel. This grail war will be different from the others. While I can't ally myself with other servants or masters, but I am willing to work alongside you two to get some answers, Naruto said. That's fine, and I will go over a few things of what happened, Irisviel said, being a little shaken of the first battle that took place. Naruto nodded his head in agreement and know that the grail war has fully begun. Within the Vale, a grail war was taking place to its mid-event and the 3 servants were going at it. As the 3 servants fought, a master was watching the battle and was very wounded from assassin. This person wore orange jacket with black sleeves, black pants with battle gear sandals, and kanata that was broken into pieces. This person was Naruto Uzumaki and he was heavily wounded from his attack from assassin and berserker. Naruto watched his servant, Saber, going through a beaten and could very little in the matter to help his servant, know his friend. He looked at his right hand, showing the command spell he had left. The command spell was Sword with Wings, but from the looks of it only one spell remains to use. Only 2 thoughts went into the blonde's mind of how use his last command spell. 1. Naruto could summon Saber to his location and maybe they can live for another day until time runs out. He had used one command spell to have his servant at his location and saved his life from a fall to his doom. 2. Naruto could his command spell and have Saber a powerful mana boost that will help win his battle. No matter how long the blonde thought, only one thing he could think of, use his command spell to help his friend. Saber, with the power of my command spell, I order you to win you battle against assassin and berserker, raise your sword and fill the day with hope to all against those that wished harm to others, Naruto ordered, having his command spell shine bright red, losing feeling within his body and felt cold all of a sudden as the last command went to his friend. Naruto saw a powerful mana going within Saber and saw his sword shine brighter than ever before to fight against assassin and berserker, causing him to smile a little as his world went dark before him. Small time skip. Play Fate 0 Ost Tragedy and Fate YouTube watch. Versus equals CXOYEIKSG. After a long hard battle, Saber had won his fight against the 2 servants and rushed to add his master. The sword-wielding servant saw that his master had used his last command spell to help him and was close on dying before him. Saber could not help himself to feel great sadness for his master and was glad that he had a good friend before him. The 2 had their moments but they got along and kept on fighting to the end even if one didn't have a wish and just wanted to fight to save anyone he could. This was touching to the servant and only do so little for his master as he was losing time. The black-haired servant could do little as he was Saber-class servant with no magic to heal his master or restore mana. For the first time, Saber felt helpless that he can save his master, his partner, his friend that he gains in his second life. Until a thought came into mind and an idea came into play for Saber to save his master. Using all his strength he had left, Saber used his right hand and reached for his spirit cord, the heart. The servant had ripped his heart out of his body with a groan and grunt in pain of doing it. He didn't care if was going go back to the throne of heroes, he wanted to save his friend, even the cost of his own life. Saber took a knee and placed his heart into Naruto, causing a powerful mana to go within the blonde and replace his chakra for magical cords. The blonde soon groans of the sudden mana entering his body and felt warm, getting his friend to smile that it worked and sat down. My friend, don't feel regret of my choice or what happened this night. While I will never gain my wish, but I am happy that I can save you, Naruto, my friend. I gain in this second life. One day we will be met again, and you rise the sword to fill the day with hope for all. Goodbye my friend, Saber said with a small smile on his face as he disappeared in blue dust of mana and returned back to the throne of heroes. Naruto was soon going through many changes that will change his life and make a new path ahead of him. End of song. End flashback. On the roads, a very fast car was driving behind the speed limits with the driver and two people in the car. Naruto had joined with Irisviel and Saber to the Ainsburn castle that was located somewhere in the forest of Japan to avoid any mages or servants finding the location. Naruto was now having second thoughts as Irisviel driving. See, this vehicle takes the turns very fast, Irisviel said happily as she turns to the next counter. Saber was seat up front and said, well that because you're a good driver. Then the car hit a bump, causing three to jump a bit and Saber to chuckle a little with some sweat drop. Naruto smiled a little. This car takes the turns great. Out of all the toys I gain over the years, this one is my favorite, Irisviel said with a smile on her face. A toy? Naruto and Saber both asked with questionable eyebrow raise and blushed a little when speaking at the same time. The car then drove faster as Irisviel pushed the gas and said, at the castle, I was only allowed to drive around the count yield, so, this is great. You passed the speed limit, Naruto said. What speed limit? Irisviel asked and kept driving, getting a groan from Ruler. Maybe we should hire a drive to avoid a crash, you know. Saber offered a good point. No, that will be boring. What if enemy would attack us? Irisviel replied as she took the next turn. I guess you have a point, but, Naruto said but was cut off when he saw something on the streets and narrowed his eyes. Saber saw a figure on the road like Ruler did and said, stop the car. Saber slammed her foot on the brakes and caused the car to stop. The car was forceful stopped with its lights shining on the unknown person in front. Irisviel, get out of the car and stay very close to us. This person is a servant, Saber ordered with her eyes narrowed at the servant outside. The three got out of the car to see the servant before them. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he read who the servant was, and he did not like who the servant looked at Saber with a lustful glare. Rank: Caster. True name: Giles de Raiz. That was odd to Naruto, but he remembered that Angra was within the Grail and could change a few things for different servants to be summoned in different Grail wars. Oh, I have finally found you, Holy Maiden. Caster cried out with happiness in his voice. Holy Maiden? Saber questioned. It's me, Joan. Don't you remember me, Giles de Raiz? Caster called out, telling his true without a care. Joan? Irisviel asked. Jeanne d'Arc, the Holy Maiden, Naruto answered, which got a nod in understanding from Irisviel. I think you are mistaking me for someone else, but since you give me your name, I must follow the code and give you mine. My name is Arturia Pendragon, King of Britain. I fight in this battle as a Saber class. Saber spoke, causing Caster to get more enraged. No, how dare he cursed my Joan. Curse him and his holy words. Curse him. Caster shouted on his knees as he punched the ground. Enough, you embarrass yourself. Saber called out but went deaf ears to Caster. Fear not, you will longer need to call yourself Saber, because my wish for Joan to come back to life has come true. Caster said happily but soon turned scared when something happens. Both Saber and Naruto brought their swords and swung downwards, creating a powerful strike that almost hit Caster, but it didn't. The ground was crack open with two deep sword marks in the ground, attacks from the servants wielding their swords. The first strike was a warning, the next want. Now leave, Caster, Naruto said with his eyes narrowed. I won't have you mock this war or the other servants. Leave, Saber said with her eyes narrowed. So, you will follow this man. Very well then, I should bring out some steps for you to come back, Castor said as he vanished into spirit form, leaving the three alone. Saber and Naruto sighed as the mad servant left, putting their blades away. It's rude when someone doesn't listen to you, Irisviel said. He was lucky that my left is wounded. I am not sure if I could fight him like this, Saber said. Naruto put his hand on her shoulders and said, maybe, but I will make sure you don't have fight him alone. I have a feeling he will be back, but let keep going. That was agreeable as they need to keep moving to the castle and avoid any servants or mages that may attack them. As they got and drove off, Naruto looked at his window to see a familiar white skull mask in the shadows and know who that was. If Assassin saw Castor, then he will follow the bug to his master, and he had a feeling that the next morning he will have work to do. Also, Naruto knew he was breaking the rules by helping Saber, but for some reason he couldn't help himself and help her for some reason. He can bend the rules a little and know for a fact that the Grail will pull his ear afterwards, but he can worry about that later and needs some rest from this long night. With Archer, as the golden-haired servant drinks her wine from her wine glass, she thought deeply of her counter with ruler and who was he. She never met someone like him before and it interests her very much. Too bad she can't wander around to find him because her master had ordered her not to. Archer didn't like her master at all, not one bit. He wanted her to be a male and was very disrespectful when the King of Heroes was first summoned to this Grail War to be a woman. She would have killed him, but with a command spell forced her to listen to reason. Now her master has one command spell, and this was laughable thing to her. Before she knows it, her best friend and familiar in this Grail War soon appeared out of spirit form, standing before the king herself. She was a young woman with long green hair and yellow eyes. She wore a white robe and was barefoot. Your Highness, you seem troubled. What's the matter? The familiar or Enkidu asked. A little, Enkidu, in this Grail War has a ruler class servant and he seems very odd to me, Archer answered as she drinks her wine. I see, and what do feel when around him, my king? Enkidu asked, wondering how this ruler got her king's attention. Archer shrugged her shoulders and said, at peace for some reason, like he is born from the age of gods and blessed by the Grail itself. It's funny on how I am still thinking about this ruler in mind as if I was meant to have him for some reason. Enkidu was taken back of her king's answer and soon understand what was going to her. I think it's time I told you the full truth, your rulership, Enkidu said with a bow and took her seat on the sofa across from her master. Oh, and what is the full truth, Enkidu? Archer asked with raised eyebrow to her friend. It was full told that you were born to be king of all kings, but not truly, for you see, Gil-chan, you were born to be a ruler, a queen, and one day will find her king, a person from the Vale. You were destined to be queen and have king by your side, Gil-chan, Enkidu explained. Archer was shocked for a moment and eyes widened a little but returned to normal and was in deep thought. Thank you, my friend, that will be all for now, Archer said as her friend vanished into spirit form, leaving her alone in her thoughts. Could ruler be what I am looking for and be my king from the Vale? I will find out soon enough and will, Archer thought as she finished her drink and waited for the priest to show as she wants him to do something for him. Next morning, with Ryder, ha ha ha, to wear these cloths in good wear is truly made for a ruler like myself. Ryder shouted out loud in happiness as she had finished on putting some civilian clothes on. Hikaru Shido school looks from Magic Ray Night Earth. Waver came running to the kitchen to see his servant wearing some schoolgirl's cloths. What are doing? Waver asked. The package that I was waiting had arrived, Ryder replied. You went outside? Waver questioned if someone saw his servant. Ryder then brought out the package box and said, Ta-da. I read about that online shipment and brought some cloths for myself. If you are gone with your familiar, and who else will answer the door? I told you that a summoning to the Holy Church was a big deal and Castor has been marked as a main target for the others to hunt down, Waver replied with a groan and narrowed his eyes. I see, and don't be so moody. After seeing Saber and Ruler last night got me thinking. If one should wear modern civilian clothes then it should be no problem and wandering around. Now let's head out, Ryder said, looking forward on seeing the new era out. Wait, stop, you can't go. Waver called out. Why is that? You will stop me from seeing the outside and see the era of now. Ryder asked. Your going around the era has nothing to do with this war. If you want to go then you should beat one of the other servants, Waver replied. Rider then understood her master with eyes narrowed and said, "Very well, I understand. If I beat one of the servants, will you promise me that I can explore the modern day?" You really want to go outside?" Waver said in shock that his servant will go that far and closed his eyes on what could come next. The King of Knights and Watcher of the War were doing it. As a fellow ruler, I cannot allow myself to be left behind. I like the design of this uniform. It is a fitting for a king like myself, Rider said happily with a big grin on her face. "And we have to find Castor. What the hell are we doing?" Waver asked, mostly to himself on what will come next, and two will go on their adventure. With Naruto. Naruto had just finished saving many children from the monsters Castor and his master. He had been saving children all morning to mid-afternoon and taking care of them before sending to the police, so they can bring them home to their parents. He also placed a rune mark on them if things can't out of hand or the kids get touched by the monsters again. Maybe that's why he was summoned, to stop Castor, but he feels it's more than that. It could be anything, but he had feeling well find out like always. The black-haired teen soon found himself back at the Irisviel castle and walked in to find Saber in the main hall. He was lucky he had good photo memory, because one could be easily lost in this castle due its sizes. "Hey Saber," Naruto greeted with a smile on his face. "Hello ruler," Saber greeted back with a smile. "Please call me Naruto when we are alone or with Irisviel. I was never a fan with titles," Naruto said with a shake of his head. "Very well, if you can call me by my true name when alone," Saber agreed and offered the same thing. "Of course, Arturia," Naruto agreed with a smile. The two stay quiet and turn their attention to the white-haired mages that soon came. "Glad you two are getting along and thank you for helping those children, Naruto," Irisviel said her thanks of the kindness that ruler did. "You are welcome Iri. I can't stand by allow children by capture by those monsters and as ruler it's my job," Naruto replied. "Agree, Castor and his master need to be punished for what they are doing," Saber said, wanting to cut down Castor before her. "True, but we can't rush in without some kind of plan or location of Castor's hideout," Naruto said, making a good point. Irisviel nodded and said, "He is right, we have no idea where to look for Castor." "Right, but we won't have to wait for long. Gillis Madness thinks Arturia is Joan of Arc, which will cause him to come looking for us, and I have feeling that tonight he will make his move," Naruto said. "I see. Do think you the church will give the reward for Castor's death?" Irisviel asked, wondering what her familiar had told true. "Hard to say, but as far as I know, the church is on the Master of Archer's side and will make sure she gets the kill. So, for me, I will say you can't trust the overseer of the church, Master of Assassin, or Master of Archer," Naruto responded, sharing his thoughts out. Irisviel thought careful on what Naruto told her and agreed with it. She had gotten news of Assassin's so-called death from Archer and later saw more than one assassin. The servant of assassination is one of tricky and hard to skill servants. For a knight-class servant to know and kill a tricky servant was hard to believe, and knows that the church are helping the Master of Archer out. "Very well, what about you, Naruto?" Irisviel asked. From what I remember that ruler-class servants don't have a side in Grail Wars, but you choose to help Saber and me. I wonder why that is." "While I have no side, but I am willing to work alongside you two for the time being. For some reason I feel that I am doing the right thing by helping you two. I can bend the rulers for a little bit," Naruto responded, getting the two to smile of his answer and were glad of his help. This was a start of a good friendship that was ahead of them. Time skip. Some time later, Naruto started to wander around the forest of the Irisviel castle and get a good readout if enemy servants come knocking. He then started to sense a servant coming towards him, being the one he felt before, and wonder who the servant was. "I know you are here, please come out of the shadows and show yourself before me," Naruto called out, getting the servant to smile and appeared before them. The servant was a young woman with short white hair, yellow eyes, and pale skin. She wore black uniform with armor, black cape with fur, carried a flag spear in her right hand, and her left hand had French sword that was pointing at the ruler. "Servant, Avenger, summoned upon the Grails and your request," the servant or Avenger said, getting Naruto to raise an eyebrow of the who was before him. "What's with that look? Come on, here's the contact," Avenger said with a smirk on her face. "It looks like this Grail war will not only have a ruler Saber servant but now Avenger ruler servant watching over the war. This is going to get interesting." As Naruto returns to the Ainsburn castle with a newcomer by his side, this servant was Avenger ruler or Alter Gene Dark or Jalter. To avoid any confusion, Jalter was summoned by the Grail to help Naruto watch over the Grail War. 2 watchers are better than 1 these days. So, Naruto, any thoughts to share out? You have been quiet for a while now, I hope you are not having any lustful thoughts about me. Jalter teased with a smirk on her face. Naruto just looked at her and said, maybe I was thinking on how the Holy Maiden has alter version. Jalter was taken of the first answer and the second was understandable to say at least. I have little memory on how, but I do know that they're 2 different Joan, one that is holy and has her views just the same, and then there is me, the dragon witch that wants to do her own thing. Jalter answered with small blush on her face but shook it with smirk. I see, Naruto simply said, leaving at that and moving on. That's it. No, I will destroy you for being unholy or some whatever crap. Jalter questioned. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and said, if the Grail has chosen you to help me watch over the war and make the rules play out the same, then I am fine with you by my side, if you are fine with it. Again, this surprised the Avenger servant on how different this ruler was and starting to take a liking towards him. Who knows what it will lead to, but she was looking forward of the aftermatch for sure. Small time skip. So quick recap, you just happened to met Avenger, who happens to be the Gene Dark while on a walk around the forest and now she is helping you on watching the Grail War, Irisviel said, re-saying what Naruto had told her. Naruto stood calmly with a shrug of his shoulders and said, no, you got it right, but these Joan is different from Holy One we know of, this is an alter version of Gene Dark. Alter? Saber asked, not hearing that before. A counterpart version of oneself and they can be quite the hard kind to deal with. To have Avenger in this war might get some attention from others but I hope nothing too big, Naruto answered. Irisviel stood quiet and remembered from what happened in the Third Holy Grail War when the Ainsburn summoned a ruler servant and someone else summoned an Avenger servant. The Avenger was the first one to die and the ruler made it to the end, but no one know what happened afterwards or the end part of the Third Holy Grail War. Some say an army was the cause of the fire or servant did something wrong, no one knows for sure but moving on. So, are going to help us in dealing with Castor? Irisviel asked. Jalter shrugged her shoulders and said, I might as well, Gillis needs a good beating into the ground for what he has done, while I don't care about what other servants do or what masters need to cry about, but I will help Naruto in this job on watching the Grail War to its end. That was understandable to Sat at least. Irisviel knows that once Castor is dealt with Naruto and Jalter would go about their job on watching the war. While a part of her doesn't want that but it's the rules and she can't change that. The white-haired mage has a little in combat fighting and trusts Saber to help but she can at least for the time being have ruler and Avenger to help her. Then all of a sudden, everyone's eyes started to widen and felt an unwelcome guest coming into the Ainsburn forest, being a servant, and they can guess who was coming. I sense it too, Iri. Saber and I will deal with Castor. Jalter stay here if another guest comes knocking by, Naruto command, having his armor and sword summoned before him. Saber nodded her head in agreement as he armor and sword appeared onto her. Irisviel nodded her and said, understood, I will make the castle as ready for any masters that come in. The Ainsburns know who to deal with unwelcome guests in their own home. Not bad, but I will believe it when I see it. Snowy, Jalter said as she and white-haired Magus ran out of living room to an office to get ready for the unwelcome guest, leaving the 2 Sabers to head out to the forest. Small time skip. Come kids, let's get out of the forest. Big brother Naruto will make sure you guys get to your parents, Naruto said as he rounds up the group of kids to take home. Naruto and Saber had spelled up, one to help the children that Castor brought with him and to deal with him. The black-haired ruler told the blonde that he will help her when he was done with the children and she agreed as she dealt with the monster. He had just finished on saving the last of the kids and removed the bugs within them with a rune mark to cure anyone from things like this. Naruto had placed the last rune mark on a small boy and said, there we go, now let's get you all to safety. The children were grateful as they hugged their older brother figure from saving them from a monster and were crying in happiness to see their parents again. Naruto know the cost of a long travel and the time, but he didn't care as he will get the kids to their homes and will help Saber, but he then senses that Lancer was coming and could guess where it might go. Lance will help Saber in favor and promise to their night duel. A knight's honorable duel was something that no one could break apart and the ruler knows that very well. Without wasting time, Naruto used his teleporting rune mark to have himself and the kids be transported out of the forest to the police area that he marked this morning. Within a blue flash, the group was teleported, leaving the forest behind and into the city before their very eyes. Naruto walked the kids into the police office, handing over the kids to the officers and gained many thanks from some parents that were there. As must he could have stayed, but Naruto need to get back to the Irisviel forest and help anyone he can. However, Ruler stopped when he saw a bug flying above him, and it was not a normal-looking bug in his eyes. He got it to look and soon broke it in his right hand on what the bug's was. The black-haired ruler will deal with the bug problem later, but first thing first. With Irisviel and Jalter. Irisviel and Jalter were in an office, setting up traps for mage that might come to the castle and make sure no other servants could come in, but assassin might come in due to his tricky skills and will have some trouble to get in. Then all of a sudden an explosion was heard, and a screen started to play in front of the white-haired women, showing them who was in the castle. The master of Lancer, Kenneth L. Meloy Archibald, member, head teacher of the Clock Tower in London, had come into the castle with a silver orb-looking ball by his side. So that is Lancer's master. He doesn't look much but looks like cry and prideful brat to me, Jalter commented as she listens to Kenneth calling the Irisviel mage out to fight him. I agree, but Kenneth is not someone I should let my guard down due to his mage abilities by his side, Irisviel said as she locked all the doors and activate the traps within the Irisviel castle. Jalter thought as she used her skills to get a read on Lancer's master to only find some interesting things. Interesting. So, this mage baby boy just holds the command spells while the real master supplies the servant's mana. I could use this and will need to time it right, Jalter thought as she thinks of clever plan to wound the mage and get away with it without breaking the rules. With Naruto. With 3 swings of his sword, Naruto had cut down another one of Castor's monster bug's creatures and had his key swords out by his side. 3 blue and 2 red key swords were ready and had launched their mana burst at any bugs coming. The red keys fired flame burst at the bugs on the left, causing them to scream in pain and burn down into ashes. The blue keys froze the bugs on the right, with Naruto swing his blade in different angels, breaking the ice into pieces. Naruto took some breaths as he cut down the last bug and thought, at this rate, I won't be able to help Arturia and Lancer in dealing with Castor, but I know they can at least damage him for him to leave. Jalter might help Eri against Lancer's master, but I don't know or what plan she has in mind. I can only hope it doesn't upset the Grail. The black-haired ruler couldn't help himself in remember the Grail war he fought in and how the Lancer that war. He remembered that Lancer attacked him for him to summon his servant, Saber, and start the path to the Grail war. He didn't meet the spear-wielding servant until the mid-end of the Grail war, and the two had honorable battle that the two will always remember to their hearts. Naruto shook his head and focused on the war now as he kept moving within the forest to the castle or find Saber. One of the two works great for him. Then out of nowhere, a black-cloaked figure dashed in front of Ruler and draw his draggers to fight the Watcher. Naruto glared at the servant in front of him, being assassin or one of them at least. This assassin female with long purple hair, wore black top that hugged her breast and pants. Her arms had darts while her belt held the draggers. The ruler know that this servant was someone that he should let his guard down and wonder why she was attacking him. Assassin, get out of my way, Naruto ordered with his eyes narrowed. Assassin shook her head and said, forgive me, ruler, but my master has ordered me to stop you from going to the Irisviel or Castor's master that hides in the forest somewhere. You know very well that I could use a command spell to have you stand down, assassin, Naruto said, seeing what this servant might do next. I know, but as a servant, I must listen and do as my master wishes, so please try not to die this soon, Watcher of Grail War, assassin said as she took out of draggers. Naruto rose his sword up, keeping his guard up, and had his key sword be by his side in case more servants come out of hiding. He wasn't going to use a command spell unless he really needs to, and he could deal with a few assassin-class servants any day. Without wasting time, Assassin dashed towards Ruler with her draggers out and ready. Naruto blocked the side attacks from the purple-haired assassin by having his sword move to right and left to swing for her. But the assassin ducked her head in time. She then thrusted forward with her left hand to the gut, but the black-haired ruler used his right elbow to block the attack and swung his sword in his left hand for the opening he saw. Assassin groaned in pain for having a wound on her left shoulder and jumped backwards to the trees, avoiding any more attacks in the Watcher's eyes. Her skills as an assassin-class servant keeps her hidden for the time being but will do away when she attacks, and if she does, there will be little chance to get out of the next attack. A risk, but she can wait to see what ruler will do next. Naruto kept his guard up and looked in the tree lines to find assassin but found nothing. As a ruler, he can sense any servants in spirit form, but with assassin was different due to the skills they have and could show themselves if they attack their target. He started to think some ideas to get assassin out of hiding and wound her enough for him to get to Arturia or Irisviel in time. Then an idea came into play and was a gamble to say the least, but it was worth the risk. Naruto rose his sword up, having his key swords appear in front prostration like himself and aim for his target. 3 red keys glow with flame mana as the 3 blue eyes glow with ice mana, being ready and soon pointed outwards to form a circle of swords around ruler. Assassin saw an opening before her. If she can go the middle to avoid the blades, then she can deal with ruler like her master has told her. She saw that once she makes a noise, ruler will strike at the spot and she can go in for the killing blow. The purple-haired assassin throw one of her knives to a tree to make a noise, causing ruler to look at the area to see a knife in the trees and left his guard down on the right side. Assassin saw the opening and dashed towards the spot to strike, being the heart. But something happens as Naruto smirked and the key sword stopped to pointed downwards to the ground. Shine. Burst. With a powerful swing of his sword, Naruto swung his sword upwards, having the key swords unleash the mana they were holding and created a powerful red-blue dome of mana energy to burst outwards. This powerful outburst shocked assassin and launched her backwards into many trees, getting her to grunt in pain and soon crashed into the ground with blood escaping out of her mouth. The black-haired sighed in relief that assassin was dealt for now and started to dash into the forest, disappearing away from the servant and going to anyone he can help. With assassin, she finally got up from the dirt and shook her head on what just happened. I see now, I got careless and though he will attack when he heard me, but I was wrong, he was waiting for me to strike first and unleash a mana burst. Clever ruler, very clever, Archer should know about this. Assassin thought as she disappeared back into her spirit form to heal and tell the news to her master and the servant of the bow. With Irisviel and Jalter, Irisviel had been running around the castle to avoid Kaneth and his mercury pods. He had attacked the castle, using his mercury magical crest to find her quickly and destroyed anything in his path, but the white-haired mage had got away and left a few traps in her wake for the prideful fool to set. Jalter was in spirit form and focus her energy to contract to the command spells she was looking for. She wanted to avoid Irisviel's command spells and get Kaneth's for her trick to play out. If she can break the command spells on the right person and maybe the magical codes will break within mage she wants. Then idea came into mind as she came out of spirit form, appearing before the white-haired mage. I see you have better days, Irisviel, Jalter commented with a smirk as she leans up against the wall. I don't see you helping or running for your life, Irisviel replied as she took some deep breaths. Maybe, but I have an idea if care to help. What will have me do, Avenger? Just watch. Jalter then placed her right hand outwards, glowing in purple mana and connecting to the right command spells she wants. She then smirks as she clenched her hand into a fist, having the mana burst outwards. Then they heard someone screaming in pain and coughing in pain from the sudden attack before feeling the same attack again 2 more times. What was happening as Kaneth was in pain from a mana burst inside his body from his right hand to his lungs, getting him to panic as his magical cords were breaking apart from the inside of his body. This caused the Avenger ruler's servant to smile at the prideful and foolish mage's pain. Irisviel looked at Jalter, wondering what she did and said, "What just happened?" Let's just say that Crybaby here will need to find some new magical cords if he wants to live, but that is most unlikely, Jalter replied with a smile on her face. Irisviel know very well that once someone magical cords are destroyed it was almost hard to repair or create. If someone magical cords were destroyed from the inside, then it will have little time to live or walk again from that sudden attack. She knows what Avenger had done to Kaneth and this attack might cause Lancer to help his master. The white-haired mage can only hope that Ruler and Saber won't be upset with Avenger's actions or for not stopping her, but what can she do? She can only hope things work out and good partnership works out for them. Lancer's master just happened to have mana break down and have half of his magical circuits destroyed before he could get to Irisviel. Care to tell me what happened, Jalter? Naruto questioned with his arms crossed, standing in front of the Avenger ruler. Saber and Irisviel watched on how this will play out. the servant of the sword that her master had nothing to do with Lancer's master having panic attack and wonder what Avenger's game was here, like why she will do something like that to a master on list and risk a duel between knights. She was lucky that Lancer was still around due her to still having the curse wound. Jalter shrugged her shoulders and said, because I feel like it, that crybaby Kaneth or whatever had it coming. You told me to stay here and help Snowy here any way I can. So, I did what I thought was right and avoid any rule breaking. Be happy that I didn't burn his skin off while he's still alive. Naruto narrowed his eyes and thought what the white-haired servant told him, being some good points, but it doesn't make her right to harm Lancer's master in such a way. The black-haired teen soon relaxes with a sigh leaving his lips and said, let's repair the damage, set the traps back up, and have new base to set up shop at. Everyone was taken back at this sudden change of emotion from Naruto and understand why his change. Very well, I will call in some contracts for a new base and reset the traps back in motion. Saber, can you please walk with me? Irisviel said as she walks out of the main room. Of course, Irisviel, Saber agreed, going with her master and leaving the two rulers to themselves, which she felt that she didn't want to leave Naruto for some reason. Jalter stood quiet, waiting for Naruto to speak, but to her surprise he didn't and attack her for what she had done. She wonders why but didn't push her luck with this Saber ruler. You know you're an odd one for sure, Jalter said. How so? Naruto asked as he got back into his normal clothes for now. Most rulers or servants will have killed me for what I have done, but like I said before, I don't care what others say I do. However, you have not attacked me or slapped me like some child taking some cookies, Jalter responded. Naruto could tell that Jalter was testing him and see how different he was. He sometimes wonders if his Saber servant had changed him in more ways than one. Back then he would act like idiot to run head first into battle and will have yell at Avenger for what she had done. Now he was different and mature like a knight that will one day be a holy emperor for everyone to follow him to bright future. The black-haired teen wonders his changes but was very grateful and happy for the changes he went through and will treasure that within his heart. You're right, but I want because I want us to work together. I want us to work and fight together, not as partners but as friends, Naruto replied with calm smile on his face. Jalter blushed on what he said, being very shocked for what he said and was lost for words. Well, that's surprise. You are really one of a kind, Naruto. I will be happy to work alongside you as a friend as well, Jalter said, having her head turn away to avoid the knight to see her blushed face, but he saw it and won't push it. Naruto just smiled as the two rulers walked out of the main room and helped the other two set up traps and stand guard for other servants or mages that might come knocking by to look for trouble. With Ryder was having the time of her life. Not only she gets to see the modern era but met her master's fake grandparents and did a little job for him. She had fun as her grin on her face didn't left her. I told you, go into spirit form when you come and go. Waver shouted in a low manner as he dragged his desk to the bed and get a spare bed out for his servant. Yes, but if I had done so then I won't have gotten this. Wearing these cloths kept people from asking questions about me, Ryder said, pointing a bag by her feet, and made a good point. And boy, it was you who ordered me to do it. That hit the nail on the head, getting Waver to glare and groan that Ryder was right as he started to set up his workplace to try something out in order to find Castor. Why must I, the king of Conkers, must do some carry work for you? Ryder asked, wondering what her master has planned. Because there are better things to do than sit around to eat and play video games, Waver replied as he brought out his tools that Ryder got him and started his work. Waver got all the tubes that has simples of water from the main water lines in Fuyuki and dropped a tip of detection magic, causing the first simple to have some red. That is interesting, Ryder said, seeing the simples changes. Someone has been using magic and mana was left behind in the main water lines, Waver said as he kept testing the simples, getting redder and easy to pinpoint Castor's base. Hey boy, did you know you will find something? Ryder asked, seeing her master was getting closer. No, but this city has one of the biggest main water lines and someone will have left some mana behind in those water lines, Waver replied. Ryder nodded her head and was quite happy for her master to do a simple thing to find their target. She then saw her master put the last simple to see it redder than the others and pasted a clear one, causing him to hum. Ryder, was there entrees between here and here? A sewer pile or water entrees? Waver asked as he pointed the spots on the map. Oh yes,
A good size to get in, Ryder responded, remembering when she gets the simples and saw a big opening.
That should be where we will find Castor, Waver said as started to clean up. I must say that was interesting. Do mages have that skill to find servants like that? Ryder asked as she sat down and read the newspaper. I don't think so. Some mages rather go with some high-ranking mage craft, but this stuff is basic. Wait a minute. You are making fun of me, aren't you? Waver asked, wondering if Ryder was making fun of him like always.
Nope, quite the opposite. Do some so simple while others often use some strange and odd magic. You on the other hand just find an easy way, and for that I am proud, Ryder answered with a grin on her face.
Waver was taken back of this, and before he could speak, Ryder got up with her sword out. Now we know where Castor is hiding. Let's give a good beating, Ryder said with a grin as she walks towards the door. Wait a minute, you know that you are walking into enemy territory? I know, you baka, you can't just run in. Castor must have traps set up and running will get us kill. Ryder groaned at her master and said, listen boy, we have happened to know where the enemy is and that gives us all the reason to take enemy down. A good conquest waits for us and battle is ahead.
Waver wasn't so sure, but Ryder did make a good point for them to attack Castor now then wait for the last second. He wasn't sure if they are the only ones to know where Castor is out and that gives the reason to attack now.
Don't look so easy to give up before the battle hasn't started. You maybe love it when we get started, Ryder said with a grin on her face, and she was looking forward on taking the enemy down.
This should be interesting. Small time skip. Ryder was laughing as her chariot cut down all the bug-like monsters that stood in her way with her master by her side. The pair kept riding deeper into Castor's lair, being darker and got a cold feeling. The red-haired servant could not sense Castor and could only guess that he was out somewhere else, but she soon saw something head within an open dome place and stopped the chariot.
It looks like Castor is not home, Ryder said with a low hum and narrowed her eyes. And why are we stopping? Waver asked as he jumps off the chariot. Hey boy, I rather you come back here, there is something you should NTC. Oh, shut up, Waver called out as he threw a germ that soon shined the whole area and soon wished he didn't for what he saw. The young mage saw horror and death before. He saw the bodies of 15 children spread out around the area, looking dead days ago, and that a monster had done something to them before they die. This had caused Waver to lose himself as he threw up and dropped to his knees, losing himself. Ryder sighed as she got off her chariot and said, your reaction is same as anyone see this kind of horror, so, don't feel bad. Shut up. You not evening doing anything, Waver said as he cleans himself up and dry up the tears that dared to come down his face. If someone didn't answer to this horror, then I will punch them hard. What do you mean punch them, you baka? Because this is not the time to deal with emotion, not when an enemy hide in the shadows. Before Waver could say anything, he soon saw Ryder draw out her sword and swung it towards a shadow figure, causing it to jump back and show themselves. Not when my master is in danger, Ryder said as she saw something was off. Two assassins came out of the shadows, glaring at the two and draw their daggers out with a hiss, leaving their months. Assassin? But that's impossible. I saw him die, Waver called out in shock. It seems assassin fake his death, clever trickiest, Ryder said as she got herself but don't needed to as the two cloaked assassins left. This was odd to say the least. It seems assassin has been called to return back to the shadows. Let's leave and don't worry about the bodies. I have way to fix that, Ryder said as she gets back into her chariot with her master following her. The red-haired Ryder then rose her sword, creating a spark of lightning as her chariot rode off and started a fire to burn the bodies. Giving a goodbye, Waver whipped his tears as the two left the dome area and towards the main pipe they came from. With Castor's base destroyed, he will have no choose but to come out and grain a good beating, Ryder said as she ruffled her master's hair. Stop it! Waver cried out, causing his servant to laugh at him. Let's be off, Ryder called off as they left the area and towards where they come from. With Naruto. Naruto was watching the calm night sky, being his time to guard and keep watch for any servants. As a ruler, he will have a little trouble in finding servants and started to think in deep thought some things. He failed to notice someone coming behind him and called his name to gain his attention. Naruto. Naruto turned around to who called him and saw Irisviel standing before him. Iri? Is there something wrong? Naruto asked. Irisviel shook her head and said, nothing is wrong. I just wanted some fresh air and maybe talk with you. Of course, Naruto said, offering the white-haired mage to be at his side, and she did.
The pair stood quiet as they watched the night sky and stars that shone in the night. The black-haired teen looked at the white-haired woman from the corner of his eye and could not help to blush at her beatify. He never met any girls after he become a demi-servant and mature after his Grail War, because back then he was idiot and not know when girls are hitting or making their move on him.
But now it was different, and this was new to Naruto, as he never met a woman like Irisviel or Arturia or Jalter before. This was an odd satiation, but not a bad one, and need to say something. Iri? Naruto spoke, breaking quietness. Why yes, Irisviel answered.
I know that is not my place to ask, but what do you plan to do when the Grail War is over? Naruto asked, wanting to start something to talk with, and that came into mind.
Irisviel was taken back of this sudden question and understand why Naruto will ask that. He was the ruler of this Grail and wonders what other masters' wish are for this war. I don't know, as an Einsborn and master as this Grail War. I must gain the third true magic, Heaven's Feel, Irisviel answered. Then, Naruto asked, then what? What will you do next? Once the Grail War is over, what will you do? I don't know, I was only created to be in this war and gain the Heaven's Feel. I really don't know what to do next, it's hard for me. Irisviel responded with her head lowered in shame. This got Naruto to look at Irisviel and was in deep thought. From what he was told by the light of the Grail, the Einsborns always have their masters made to be in the Grail, or otherwise known as homunculus. Another sad fact was that they have only several years to live, and that Naruto didn't want for the white-haired mage to endure. The black-haired teen then did something out of nowhere and caused a sudden surprise within the white-haired woman.
Naruto had brought Irisviel into a hug with his arms wrapped her waist, and she was shocked that she didn't know what to do but hugged back with her arms wrapped around his neck. Irisviel felt warm within side of her like the blush on her face and feel happy with the arms of the ruler. Naruto was happy as well and smile a little. I promise you, Irisviel, that I will help your life as your own person, even if I can't stay in this war after the Grail War. I promise you that I use all the time I have, Iris, Naruto said with a warm smile on his face. Irisviel's eyes widened for a second, then relaxed with a smile on face and brought her body to be up against the man that made her felt so alive. Naruto closed his eyes and kept warm hug, both not saying a word, and relax in the night sky. This was the start of something new for the two as the night kept going and wind blow calmly. Saber was on guard as it was her time to watch out for any servants or anything. The traps have been set but not strong enough for upfront attack, and a new base was almost being located soon enough. The blonde-haired knight was also have been told that Jalter will be going into town to get a few things that Naruto had asked her to get in order to cook dinner, which got her interested in what the black-haired teen will cook. Saber was soon knocked out of her train of thoughts as she started to sense a servant coming into the forest and straight towards the castle, coming in fast, and she acted quickly. Irisviel had sensed someone entering the Einsborn forest as well and rushed with her servant towards the front door to see who was here. Naruto followed behind the two, and three were greeted with a familiar and happy face from the first night. Greetings, Saber, ruler. The red-haired servant called out with a grin on her face as she stopped her chariot in castle main hall. Rider? Saber questioned on why Rider was here and wearing schoolgirl's uniform. Why are you dressed for battle? Why aren't you wearing your citizen cloths like I am? Rider asked with her hands on her hips and smiled happily. Rider, what are you doing here? Saber asked. You can't tell. Rider questioned as she reached into her chariot and grabbed a wine barrel that rested on her right shoulder. I have come here to drink, so, stop standing there and show me around this place. This castle should have a good place where we can have a royal banquet. This got the three to look at each other and wonder why the King of Conquers will offer that. But then again, in her time, she was known to have parties after her conquests and drink to her heart's as full up. A banquet couldn't hurt, and it might help ease some things up in this war. Hey Naruto, what's up with door down and, oh never mind, Jalter asked, but changed her mind when seeing the massive chariot in the main hall and carried bags in her hands. She was now wearing normal cloths to avoid any smart mouths or servants following her, Shinjuku outfit. Yeah, we have some guests for the night, and I think that food you got will help in making a good banquet for our royal kings, Naruto said, having some ideas to cook some top 5 meals for the two kings and maybe a third one that might be joining them soon. Jalter raised an eyebrow and wondered what the black-haired ruler will cook. She wasn't the only one, as the white-haired mage, blonde sword-wielding and Red Rider wonder the same thing as well. This should be interesting. Small time skip. With a little time, the royal banquet was set up in an open garden view with 4 paths walkway to the middle circle, and a table was set up for the banquet to take place. Naruto had placed many different types of food on the table from Japan and Western era 5-star meals, doing something different, and wanted to have a good meeting between two kings now. Ryder broke into the wine barrow and started to strive some drinks out as she drinks her own cup down. It was said that the Holy Grail has the known servants go out each other in an all-out battle, but it's more of looking for the Grail than winning it. So, this war is different, but I do enjoy a good drink before going into the heart of battle, Ryder said as she hands Saber a drink. Saber took the cup before drinking down one moment, getting Ryder to smirk at this. "You want to test my rank against yours in this war?" Saber asked, wondering what Ryder wants. "Not at all. This war is more than a discovery hunt to a normal day war. Tonight is not about the war but a good banquet between kings," Ryder answered as she drinks another cup of wine down and tries some of Naruto's cooking. Saber did the same as she started to eat some of the food that Ruler made for them. Wonderful, Ruler, you just might be one of the greatest chefs I have met," Ryder commented as she kept eating more. "Very good," Saber said as she ate some as well. "You're welcome," Naruto said with a smile. From the background on the left side has Jalter and Irisviel eating some food that Naruto handed to them, to try it out for themselves. They smiled on how good it was and enjoyed their meal. The right side of the background had Waver, but he passed for anything food, he was missing out. "I think that's enough, you mongrels," a voice spoke, getting the servants and mages' attention to look at the servant that showed up out of spirit form, being Archer herself. The mages were on edge a little, but the servant's want of the sudden appeases of the golden-haired servant. "Archer, what are you doing here?" Saber asked. "Oh well, I happened to bump into her in town and ask her to join us." "You were late, don't you think, Goldie? But then again, you travel on foot while I travel a different means," Ryder answered with a grin. Archer didn't pay Ryder any attention as she placed her right hand on her hip and said, "You really believe that we can have banquet here? What a bad taste. Why don't you relax yourself? Here, start with something to drink," Ryder offered as she hands a cup of wine to the golden-haired king. Archer took a sip of the wine but soon spit back into the cup and disliked the drink. "What a filthy wine. Do you really think we can have royal dinner with this?" Archer asked as she took her seat and the cup back. "You don't like it? This is what I can get in short time at the city's marketplace. You really don't know any about true drinks, stupid mongrel." Archer put her right hand, summoning a golden portal that soon brought out a golden wine and soon summoned 4 cups into her hand. This got Ryder to have a gleam in her eyes and wonder what a wine will come. Saber and Naruto wonder as well, with Jalter being a little cross she can't have wine due to her guarding Irisviel. "Now enjoy, for this a drink of a true king," Archer said as she hands the cups and wine to Ryder. "A fine treasure indeed," Ryder agreed as she got the cups filled with wine and passed them to the other rulers. Ryder strived anyone at the table cups of wine and started to take the first taste herself, which she was surprised on how good it tasted and enjoyed it. "Wonderful," Ryder said with grin on her face as she drinks her second sip. Naruto and Saber took their sip, being taken back of the taste and how good it was. "My treasury holds more than just swords, this alone shall tell us who is worthy," Archer said as she drinks her wine and takes some food which she loved the favor. "Now Archer, the Grail is not a drinking contest, but this drink is great, I will say, but what will you do once you gain the Grail?" Ryder asked, wondering what this king wants from the Grail and what wish she wants. Archer shrugged her shoulders and said, "Nothing much. At first I want nothing from the Grail since my treasury once holds such item and what I should wish. I am a king and I have already have all my desire greeted, but some events have come into play for me to wish for something." The gold-haired answer causes the 3 rulers to wonder what wish. It seems that from the start she had no wish and now is one, making a question like what does she wants. "I see, may I ask what wish?" Ryder asked. "I won't share my wish but know that I will take pleasure in stopping anyone who dares to touch my treasures," Archer answered with her eyes narrowed a little. "Hold on, you are going to be gritty. Fool, I know very well my wish is different from you too. When I see the Grail, I will take it because whatever I see something I want, I take it. Then tonight let's drink for a good banquet and towards a fine battle ahead. Saber and Naruto stood quiet, allowing Archer and Rider to talk it out but won't last long. Your words are no different than Castor's crazy, at least he is it the only servant who is insane, Saber commented as she drinks, getting Archer to glare at her. Now let's relax, and I now know who Goldie is, Rider said with a grin, having an idea who Archer really was due to her past wars she fought in the Middle East and finished her drink which she gets more. Archer looked at the red-haired servant, wondering who was, but then again this king was knowing to conquer the known worlds, so, it shouldn't be surprise on that count, but moving on. Rider, while Archer's wish seems odd, but what of you? What wish will you want if you win the Grail War? Saber asked as she and Naruto wonder the same thing as to what the King of Conquerors wants. Rider blushed on that question before drinking another wine down her throat and groaned after taking the wine down to answer the question. Reincarnation, Rider reposed with her eyes closed, having the blush still on her face. This caused the rulers and white-haired servant to raise an eyebrow of such a wish. What? Waver shouted in question of his servant's wish before running at her. Wait, wasn't your goal for world conquest? Before a word could come out, Rider had back-flicked her master, sending him flying across the yard with smoke coming off his forehead. Baka, as if a thing can give me that wish, conquest and seeing different parts of the world has always been my dream, but in order to do that, I must first gain the wish to make that happen, Rider answered before stroking her long hair out with her right hand. Mongrel, you will dare say a wish before me? Archer asked with her eyes narrowed. Even with magic, we are still servants and bound to this the throne. I want to live for his flesh and blood, then I will ride to devour heaven and earth, Rider answered with her grin appearing on her face. Naruto could see where Rider wants and remember another servant that once had wished just the same. It has been some time since he heard that wish before. Then the matter is settled. I will take great pleasure in destroying you in battle, Archer said with a smile on her face, having her mind made up in fighting King in the next battle after Castor is done. Rider laughed a little and said, I won't make it easy for you, I will be ready to run you over Goldie, so get ready. That's not how a true king should act amongst kings, Saber said. Oh, then tell us Saber, what wish you want from the Grail? Rider asked. When I come out as victor of the Grail War, I will use the Grail to wish for one thing, to change Britain's fate, Saber answered, getting a great deal of silence from the rulers of her wish. This wish was something that two kings don't like while rulers stay quiet. Rider put her cup down for a second and clear her throat out. Let me get this straight, you wish to change the fate of your country? Rider asked, making sure if this was the wish Saber wanted. Of course, I do, and what of it, my beloved country that I long ruled and protected that I, Saber replied, but was cut off when a center servant started to laugh. Archer started laughing, getting Saber crossed and narrowed her eyes at her. What's so funny, Archer? Saber asked. You are the king of knights and sad by your country. How can I laugh on such nonsense? Archer replied with her laugh growing louder. Why does that seem humorous? Saber questioned. Saber, you are willing to change the victories and hardship of your past to change history? Rider asked. I want to change the fate of my beloved country. I don't you would understand or know how I feel about this wish, Saber replied. I might not nor want to change the fate of my outcome. I fought for conquest and kept going to see my dream come true. I once never regret my actions or the man that fought by my side, but you are wishing for, spit on the sacrifice of your comrades and followers for your kingdom. That's not how a wish should be, you sir person live, Rider said with grim look on her face before finishing her drink and food down. Before Saber could say anything, she was stopped when Naruto put his hand on her shoulder and show a look of kindness. She allowed the black-haired teen to speak and wait for what he has to say, hoping it wasn't bad. Archer, Rider, while Saber's wish might be bad, that takes away the sacrifice and hardship that her and her men fought for. But I believe in her wish. Time traveling might be something that some servants will wish for, but as a king it's their duty to think of their people and country. A ruler, no matter what gender or where, must place him or herself second and have their men by their side as one for their kingdom and people. Saber, in my eyes, has a fair and just wish that I think can come true, Naruto said, getting mixed emotions and shocked states of mind from everyone. Saber was taken back on such wisdom, kindness and belief Naruto spoke to her. He knows that her wish might be impossible, but he believes in her and to be a good ruler to her people. She did have a few moments and people that didn't believe her, going into deep thought and still was touched on how rulers spoke about her. Archer, while not the same as Saber but was touched by Naruto's kindness and how he spoke like an emperor, she could see the signs of a true ruler in the making to this ruler-class servant, how he acts, talks, and those sends a spark in her heart and gets more interested into her future king. Now she really wants her friend to help her with sudden feel and have some alone time with the black-haired ruler. Ryder was very taken of how Naruto defended Saber and spoke about his view of a true ruler. She could see how this young man was truly an emperor in the making and one of the holy rulers that ruled a good kingdom in his time. The red-haired servant could guess that this young man might have been an emperor in the Roman time period and care about his people first before anything. She closed her eyes for a second and smiled. I see, then I will leave Saber's wish and her desire alone for the time being. As fellow king, I will respect your words, ruler, Ryder said, leaving the subject alone. Archer giggled a little bit before smirking and said in teasing tone of voice, such wise words for an emperor such as yourself, ruler. I had some girls in my bed, but I never had a man before and wonder where it might go. This got Saber crossed that the golden-haired servant would say that with a smirk on her face, and Naruto blushed on such bored comment. You bitch, Saber called out as she brought her sword and ready to strike but was stopped when something happens. A dagger came out of nowhere and hit the table, getting all the four and everyone else to see where that knife. It was assassin or one of them but changed when out of nowhere more assassins appeared out of their spirit forms before everyone's eyes. Assassin, Hassan, what is the meaning of this? Naruto asked, not caring if other servants know the skull-masked servant's true name as he narrowed his eyes. The purple-haired assassin lowered her head in shame that she and others were forced to do something very shameful, to kill ruler by command seal order from their master. They voiced their own thoughts to their master, but no luck and order was given by command seal, forcing any servants to fulfill the order that was given to them. Forgive us, ruler, we have little choice in the matter, we have been ordered to kill you, no matter the cost, one of the assassin answered as all the cloaked assassins were surrounding the garden. I see now, that's what Hassan's noble phantasm, having himself spilt into different version of himself and those that oneness took the Hassan's name or title. No wonder how some of the servants and almost all the mages were fooled in thinking that assassin was dead from the start. Interesting, Naruto thought, understanding the full truth behind and power of Hassan and saw the plan that two masters took place. Well, this is interesting. Archer, do you know these trickiest? Ryder asked, wondering if Archer brought assassin with her. Archer shook her head and said, Tokiomi, my master, unlikable, and Kirei Kotomine, assassin's master. I see. Well then, hey assassin, about something drink. Ryder asked. You are offering peace. Of course, if a peace act comes, maybe they will act and drink a share. Please drink this wine. Soon Ryder offered wine. One of assassins launched a knife at the cup, getting the wine to land on the shirt of the servant that offered a drink piece and got her upset. Very well then, this drink we will be your blood, Ryder said with a glare, and her normal cloths transformed into her battle gear, getting a massive whirlwind blasting around the whole area in garden. Everyone started to cover their eyes with their hands as the wind got stronger, but Archer stood still like nothing was happening and wonder what will happen next. Saber, ruler, one last question before I start, is a king truly alone? Ryder asked as she crossed her arms. Saber looked at Naruto, who stood by her side, and two shared a look, knowing the answer for well. I once thought a king shall stand alone, but that changed. I now know that king is never alone, Saber answered, getting a nod from ruler in agreement, and felt a change within her the more time she is near with Naruto. Then there is hope for you, Saber, now bear witness to my greatness weapon I have. Ryder announced as the whole area changed within a power white shine of light. Everyone shielded their eyes as the whole area changed and transformed into something that made everyone's eyes widen of what they saw. The whole castle garden changed to a desert landscape with hills and calm winds blowing around. Saber held Irisviel close to her, keeping her master safe while Naruto and Jalter circled them with their swords out, making sure no one gets past them. Archer just sat in her chair and waited for this show to start and end later. Waver was shocked that his servant had this noble phantasm. The assassins were got in a trap. Now, to the distant ends of the earth. If our chests beat with ambition for the far horizon, the campaign shall never end, raise your cries of war. Yonyan heteroi. Army of the King. Aaalalalala. Ryder shouted out aloud with laughter following behind as her noble phantasm was unleashed. Ryder has and had summoned a reality marble that embodies her very dreams, a noble phantasm that has an EX rank. A reality marble, Irisviel grasped in shock. The three servants by the Einsburn were shocked as they kept their guard up and make sure she was safe for the time being. Soon enough, a massive army came walking from hill and towards their great general, their king, and soon a massive horse comes to its master. "Hello, my old friend, it's been a long time," Ryder said as she pats her horse and started to ride it with her sword out. "Now my men, forward to battle." With that battle cry, the army charges towards assassins, who now knows that they are fuck up and had no escape from this bloodbath that was coming to them. The armies of great General King stomped them down like bugs, cutting into pieces until nothing was left and destroyed all of them. Within another flash of white light, the landscapes changes back to the garden at the Einsburn castle, almost like nothing happened, but everyone failed to see one assassin leaving, meaning that the servant was still around. Ryder drank another glass of wine, drinking very victory down her throat, and said, "Now that was great, such a shame I didn't finish more of that wonderful food, but this will do for the night as I need some rest for the next battle coming." Ryder brought her chariot out with the bulls ready to leave and throw her master into the chariot for the night. "Farewell," Ryder called out as she and her master took off for the night, having the chariot take off into the sky with lightning following behind. So that is it for night. I hope we will meet again, ruler, as I have a few questions, but my master seems to be coward type and wants me back, so that will be put on hold, and thanks for the meal, it was wonderful," Archer commented with a smirk on her face as she disappeared within a gold dust of energy into her spirit form and left the area. The four stood quiet as the night's wind blew past them until one spoke out. "I remember that night left Camelot because the king never understood human emotions or the people at all. I am starting to think that maybe I wasn't worthy to be king," Saber said with her head down, but brought it back up when she felt someone's hands on her shoulders. Naruto had put his hands on the blonde's shoulders and said, "I don't think so, Arturia. I believe many rulers had their fall and mistakes in their past life, but that what makes us human. We know how we fall and learn to pick ourselves up. You know your mistakes and wish for it, while some might say something else, but I believed in your wish and you, Arturia, to be a one-of-a-kind king the first have met." Saber was very touched by this as she had a blush on her face and smile at the kind words. She had never met a person like Naruto before and wished that they have met during her time. May things could have been different, and she will be different. She was glad to have met this ruler-class servant as she and some others were starting to have feelings for him. In the next morning shows that Naruto, Jalter, Irisviel, and Saber taking a car into town for their new base to set up, and were told that was owned by them now. Naruto was driving with Saber at the front with him and was more peaceful drive than a center driver before. "Is this relaxing?" Irisviel asked with a smile on her face. "It is very relaxing, is great for traveling, and with my riding skill, it's easy for me to drive smoothly," Naruto replied as he took the next turn, enjoying his time of driving. Saber nodded her head and said, "I agree, this is much quicker to get to one place to another than walking, and I really like to see our new base." "I am sure you do, Arturia, and I promise that you will drive next time," Naruto, promising the night for her turn to drive, and got a smile on that promise. The group soon made it to their new base, being a Japanese-style house that looks like mansion for royal family to live in, and the area surrounding the place feels peaceful to them. "This place will do." Naruto parked the car and took the keys with him as he got out, and the others followed. "Such a bore place, but it seems nicer than the castle we stayed at," Jalter said, looking at the house, and took liking towards it. "You don't like castles?" Irisviel asked. Jalter shook her head and said, "Nothing against it, but I rather live at a good-size home or mansion instead an old-looking castle." "It works fine me," Saber said, liking the house just fine. "Me too, a little work around here and there, but I think we can make this work," Naruto agreed, thinking some ideas for the house to live in. "That sounds like a great idea, Naruto. How about we get some things in order and then we can go into town for some house shopping?" Irisviel offered, getting the three to nod their heads in agreement. "Then it's settled." With that said, The four walked in to place their bags and things down before locking the house up and started to walk into town for some house shopping. With Ryder. Within a good mile has Ryder and her master doing some walk around into town. Waver wanted to get some fresh air and look at something. He brought his servant along, knowing that she will get bored and need to make sure she stays out of trouble. Now I am going into the library and I will hand some money for your shopping, but you got to promise me that you won't cause any trouble, Waver said. Ryder nodded her head as she looks around to see the different shops open. No conquering Ryder, Waver added with his eyes narrowed. Pay attention. Oh here, no stealing, just pay for it with this money or do I have to use a command spell on you? Ryder laughed at her master and said, fear not, back in my time, I happen to be a well and most respected person in civil matter, well I am off. Waver sighed with groan as he watched his servant wandering off to who knows where and started to go into the library for his reaching from the dream he had. Masters have dreams from their servants they are bound with and Waver wondered about this dream as he started to look at the Greek, Roman history area. He soon saw a book about Alexander the Great and started looking it, skipping the pages over to the part he wants to read the most. Before the mage could read word off, he heard someone calling him and caused him to panic. Hey, boy, where are you? Waver know who that was as he paced the book and turns to face his servant walking into the book area. There you are, you're so small that it's impossible to see you in between the bookshelves, finding you was tough, Ryder commented as she walks in with a bag in her left hand and drink in the other. People are normally smaller than bookshelves, Baka, Waver said with his eyes narrowed a little but sighed to relax a little and noticed that Ryder has a bag in her hands. So, what did you buy? Ryder grinned as she brings out a game from her bag and said, check this out, Admirable War Tactics came out today. And I got the first press limited edition. My luck must be pretty high. You know, there's no point in buying the game if you don't have the console for it, Waver said, having an idea that his servant will buy that game and figure something out. No problems there, I bought the best console that was on sale with the game, now come on, we're playing VS mode when we get back. I even bought 2 controllers, Ryder said with her grin on her face still there. I am not interested in low-class entertainment like that. Ryder groaned at her master and said, man, why do you keep restricting your own view of the world? It's not that, it just, oh here see for yourself, Waver said, controlling himself because he was in a library and brought the book out again. As the black-haired mage handed his servant the book, he wonders how she will respond to her own history. What should I be looking at here? Ryder asked, wondering what her master wants. This book tells about your history and downfall, Waver replied, not looking at his servant in the eye. Oh, I see then. Now Waver was taken back at this calm answered. Wait, you not bother by this? Waver asked. No, I am not bother at all, Ryder replied with shrugged of her shoulders and rubbed the back of her head. This got Waver to relax bit and said, so did you really die at early 30s? That part is true, I am really surprised that many thought I was man back then but then again, I did charge into battle and led my armies like a king should. I guess that will make sense and my counterparts will have a big laugh of my victories, Ryder replied with a smile on her face. Before Waver could speak, he didn't and saw Ryder looking at the window to see 2 people they didn't thought they come across again. Is that Ruler and Einsburn? Waver questioned, seeing the familiar people from last night. It looks like that way, but let's move on shall we? Ryder answered as she drags her master with her to play their game back at the house, not listening to her master saying stop and left the pair alone. With Naruto. Something got Naruto's attention and looks at the library, thinking that he saw someone walking out but couldn't make it out. Is something wrong, Naruto? Irisviel asked, having some bags in her hands. Naruto shook his head and said, nothing is wrong, Iri, I thought I saw someone, but it looks like that I was wrong, but let's enjoy our shopping. Irisviel smiled as they kept walking into different shops to buy somethings for the house. The pair weren't the only ones doing a few things. Arturia was buying a few things for herself and check something out. Jalter was back at the house, cleaning a few things and will join the group at their night walk around town, knowing that Castor will show up and they can deal with him when the time comes, but for now, they are enjoying the peace and quiet. Before the pair could walk to another shop, they were stopped and soon saw a familiar face they didn't thought they will met again at daytime. Archer was standing right in front of the pair in civilian cloths, being a tan-brown shirt with open view of her chest, black leggings, white shoes, and golden necklace around her neck. She happens to be walking around town due to her master wanting her to find Castor, but it was more of her own thing and wanting to meet Ruler again. It looks like her luck was on her side. "Oh, hello again, Ruler. I see you have brought Saber's master with me." That's fine," Archer said as she placed her right hand on her hip and smirked on seeing the one person she needs an answer from. "Hello Archer, this is surprise," Naruto said, being taken back on how Archer was here and kept Irisviel behind him, keeping her safe. If all servants should know is that they should attack at daylight and wait at night, but one can't be too careful. Archer saw this and said, "Relax, I am not here to fight, just sightseeing and hoping I will bump into you, Ruler, as I have a question for you." Naruto wonders what question does the golden-haired servant want to ask him. "Sure, but can you promise me that you want Irisviel?" Naruto said, not wanting the white-haired woman by his side hurt if things can't out of hand. Irisviel was taken back that Naruto will help her. She was glad for his kindness and smiled that he will protect her as if he was her servant. Archer saw this and could see that she might have some challenges for the ruler's heart, but that made it greater for her take what hers. "Very well, I want Saber's master as we have our talk," Archer said, promising in her own way. Naruto nodded his head, agreeing with the promise, and allowed Archer to ask the question. "My question is, are you from the Vale?" Archer asked with her arms crossed, wanting to know if Ruler was her other half and from the Vale. This got both Naruto and Irisviel shock of sudden question with their eyes widen. For Naruto, he was shocked that Archer will ask that question, being where he came from and only few know about the Vale. The Vale was place cut off from the main world and many have tried to get in but failed as the Vale was unknown to find and many have died trying to get in. For Irisviel, she was shocked that Naruto might be from the Vale and Archer would ask that question. Like all mages, she knows all about the Vale and wonder was there but give up on that thought, and yet it was brought back up. If that is true, then Naruto will have to be the first ever hero from the Vale to become a heroic spirit. How do you know the Vale and why ask that question?" Naruto asked, getting out of his troubled thoughts. "My friend told me something that I want to sure is true, so, I will ask again, are you from the Vale?" Archer asked with her eyes narrowed, wanting an answer. Silence was the only thing that took place and many thoughts were spinning in Naruto's head of the question before him. Should he tell the truth or hide the facts? He wasn't so sure, but he wasn't someone to lie on such things and feels like he should tell the truth to not just Archer, Irisviel, but also tell Arturia and Jalter as well. Naruto sighed and said, "Yes, I am from the Vale, victor of the Holy Grail War that took place where I was born and now ruler of the Fourth Holy Grail War." Irisviel was taken back of Naruto's answer and his honesty to answer the question before servant and herself. Archer was happy of the answer as her smiles forms up, being pleased that she got a good answer and has found her future king. She won't tell him just yet and will wait for the right time. The king, no queen of heroes, can wait for the right moment to tell her future king before the war ends. "I see, then that will be all. I hope we will see each other again. I look forward to it," Archer said with a pleasing smirk on her face and walks with a swung of her hips in a sexual manner, getting Naruto blush a little but shook it off. Once the golden-haired servant was gone, leaving the two alone and have their own talk. "It is true, Iri. I was born from the Vale and a Holy Grail War took place there. I was the master of Saber and did my best to fight in the war, but nothing could prepare me for the battles I fought with my servant and alone," Naruto said with a sad look on his face, remembering good and bad that happened in the war. Irisviel could saw great sadness within Teen's eyes of the war he took part in. She may not understand the pain he went through, but she wanted to help him any way she can. "I see, why keep the secret of your origin?" Irisviel asked, wanting to have some questions answered before she tries to help. "I don't know what other servants may think, as the Vale is a mystery to both this world and the throne of heroes. During the battle against Assassin and Berserker of my war, nearly cost my own life and my Saber-class servant fought hard to protect me. The choose was my alone and I used my last command spell for my friend to win his battle. I am sad that Saber won't be able to gain his wish from the Grail or be with him to very end, but I was wrong as my friend give his own life in order save my life, making me a demi-servant and fought through the rest of the war as the victor," Naruto explained, waiting for the mage's answer of the truth he told and what will happen next. This news was shocking to Irisviel, but she can understand his reason on keeping it secret and was happy that Naruto trusted her with his origin. She then walked up to the black-haired teen and hugged him, getting him out of his thoughts and taken back of the sudden warmth he felt. Naruto was taken back but soon hugged the white-haired woman back, being the same hug the two shared some time ago, and the two felt at peace. I understand your reasons on keeping your past a secret, and I am happy you trust me enough to share it. Like you promised to help me, I promise that I won't leave your side or change my thoughts about you. You're a kind person that is willing to help others with no reward afterwards and keep going to see something in the end. I will be there for you as you are for me, Naruto, Irisviel said with a warm smile and small blush on her face. Naruto smiled at Irisviel's words and hugged her back with a warm smile on his face. The pair kept hugging and trapped in the warmth the other shared to other, being underwear of center pair of green eyes and saw the pair. Saber had just gotten back from her shopping and snacked to see her master and Naruto hugging each other, getting some feelings to rise. She won't say she was jealous due to her pride as a knight, but was jealous and wonder what happened when she was gone. Seeing enough as well, not wanting to be jealous, Saber coughed into her right hand, getting the pair's attention and blushed in deep red, causing them to break the hug up. I am back from my shopping, Irisviel, Naruto, Saber said, showing her bags in her right hand. I see, Saber, Irisviel said with the blush on her face, not wanting to anger her servant. Naruto nodded his head with a blush on his face, also not wanting to upset the King of Knights. Then we should get going, but before that, can you two tell me what happened when I was away? Saber asked, wondering what happened between her friend and man that captured her heart. No, attention. Naruto and Irisviel look at one another, sharing a look and know that truth must come out. Naruto sighed and said, I will tell you on the way to the house, Arturia. It's a part of my origin that I wish share with you as I shared with Iri. Saber was taken back at this. She wonders about Naruto's origin, like where he came from and how he became a ruler. The blonde-haired knight was glad of that, and even more that the black-haired teen was going to share his story to her. That showed that he trusted her a lot like her master. Very well, let's head back to the house, Saber said as the three started to walk back and Naruto started to tell his story to the King of Knights. Let's hope things work out all right in the end. Time skip. I see, I never thought a Grail war will take place there or have a heroic spirit from the Vale, Saber said, after listening to Naruto explaining his origin. I didn't either, but it happened, and due to my servant giving his life for me, it allowed me to become a demi-servant. As a demi-servant, I can be summoned either a saber, ruler, or both, Naruto said as he and the other two were walking back to the house. That makes sense, and I can see why the secrets. Thank you for telling me your story, Naruto, Saber said, being thankful that Naruto had trusted both her and her master. You're welcome, Arturia, Naruto said, feeling a little better on telling someone of the war he took part in as himself and two walks back to the house. Naruto will often have some memories of the Grail war he took part in and some horrors stay with him, but now feels a little better. The black-haired teen feels better on telling Irisviel and Arturia, having a strange and strong feeling he could share anything with them. It was new to him but not a bad feeling, but a good one, and feels glad for them. These feelings will help him later. Irisviel and Arturia were happy and glad that the black-haired teen shared their history and his Grail war to them. The two feels better every time they are near the teen that capture their attention on how he cares about others than himself, will put himself second in order to help others, and how he cares about them. The white-haired and blonde-haired women know something was starting, being a center feeling rising, and it needs spark to light it up. Before anything else could happen, the three had finally made it back to the house and saw Jalder waiting for them. There you guys are, I have been waiting for you three. I just got the beds and 4 rooms all set up. Not perfect, but it will have to do, Jalder said as she and three walks into the house. That's fine, we can fix a few things later, Jalder, but now let's have something to eat before going out for afternoon drive and walk, Naruto replied as he walks to the kitchen with bags in his hands to cook something good. Another thing to add into getting attention was Naruto's cooking. Now that is something many will love to have. With Ryder. On a road that walked upwards towards the house that pair of master and servant live at, Ryder was walking forward with Waver behind her, and she started to wonder what her master's problem was. Ryder turned around with her hands on her hips and said, Why are you so quiet? Nothing. I was just thinking about how boring you are, Waver replied. What, so, you were bored after all? Then stop whining and play this game with me, Ryder offered, bring the bag up. That's not it. Even if I get the grail for a servant like who's practically guaranteed to win, I couldn't take pride in that at all. It would have been way more rewarding if I'd contracted with Assassin. Waver snapped. Ryder stood quiet with her right hand on chin, thinking a few things and doesn't see Assassin working for her master at all. I don't know if that would have worked. I think you will be dead, Ryder said, honestly. That's fine. I have no problems with dying in my own battle. That's why I joined the Grail War. Yet, Waver was stood quiet as he last the words to keep going and replayed what happened so far of this Grail War he took part in. Ryder rubbed the back of her head and said, I don't know what to tell you. If your wish for the Grail was something that impressed me, I wouldn't mind obeying you, but since you just want to use it to get taller. While the talk was going, the sunlight was going down and street lights came on. Don't just assume things. Waver snapped but was stopped when Ryder rubbed his head and groaned. It's not like the Grail War will be the most important event of your life, Ryder said but was cut off by his master and got out. What? When you someday find a way of life that you can be truly proud of, you'll be forced into your own battle whatever you like it or not, you can search for your battlefield then. I can't be the only one who's not satisfied with this contract. Ryder raised an eyebrow in question at Waver's words and wondered where this was going. I am sure you don't like it either. Having a master as pathetic as me, you will be able to win a lot easier if you made a contract with a more competent master, right? Waver questioned with his hands up, getting his servant to think deeply.
He was not wrong. Ryder has thought about it, but for some reason and good though has brought up many times, the King of Conquers hasn't thought of new master at all. Ryder groans and said, I wonder about that. Things were quiet for a good few seconds until Ryder moved forward towards her master. Thinking she was going to hurt him, Waver panicked a little but was soon taken back when his servant brought him close to her and reached for something in his bag. After finding what she was looking for, Ryder grabbed a book of the world's maps and gave her master some space while she looks for something until she reached for the right page. Look at this, boy, this is the enemy I am fighting, Ryder said, showing the page that showed the whole world map to her master. Waver looked at the page, wondering where Ryder was going at. Try to draw the two of you next to the enemy, so that we can compare you and me, Ryder informed. Waver did, picturing himself and Ryder on the map. He then saw something very off about it. That's, Waver started, impossible, right? Against the enemy we're about to fight, you and I are the same, Ryder finished, making a good point. Waver saw this and agreed of the point, letting his servant to keep talking. Just tiny little dots, what point is there in comparing how big we are? Ryder asked. She has a great point and Waver could tell. But that's exactly why I am excited. It doesn't matter how weak or small you are. With a body not even the size of a dot, I will someday surpass the world. The excitement in my chest is what caused the King of Conqueror's heart to beat. Ryder said with a big grin on her face. So, you're basically saying your master doesn't matter, right? No matter how weak I am, it won't pose you any problems. Waver asked with his eyes closed. Where did that come from? Ryder then walked behind her master, giving him a big pat on the back. Waver was taken back at this pat and grasped for air. The inferiority you feel is actually the quality of a king. You may grumble a lot, but you know how small you are, and yet, you still struggle to reach heights greater than you can imagine, Ryder said with her grin never leaving her face. That's not a compliment, you're making fun of me, Waver said with his eyes lowered. That's right, boy, you are a hopeless idiot, Ryder said, truthy, but changed when she spoke again. Your desires lie beyond yourself. Glory lies beyond the horizon. After all, in the world I lived in, that was the most basic rule of life. Ryder looked at the calm night sky while having her hand on Waver's back. Is that why you kept heading east like a baka? Waver asked. Ryder nodded her head, knowing what she is with a grin on her face and said, yes, that's right, I wanted to see Okeanos and the man waiting for me with my own eyes, but my dream didn't come true. This caused Waver to have his eyes widen and remembered the dream he had of Okeanos and the man standing before his servant. Ryder never saw the inland or meet the strange man at all, She only saw a dream from her heart. Okeanos remains the place I strive for, and the man is someone waiting for me that will capture my heart. It's an endless dream that I keep dreaming and will keep reaching for it, Ryder said with a smile on her face and eyes closed, remembering the dream she will also have in her heart and reach for.
In her lifetime, Ryder would rule, yes, but she always will dream of an inland that has a man waiting for her, a man that will be her other half and someone that will capture her heart. She kept riding towards the dream while being a king, but sadly she never found Okeanos or her man, but she keeps dreaming and reaching for it. She soon then shook her head, focusing on the now. Laugh if you want. I am just another idiot who dreams the same dream even after 2,000 years. So, boy, a contract with a baka like you is total fine with me and I won't trade it for anything, Ryder said with her smile never leaving her face and got her master happy of her reply.
Before another word was shared, the two suddenly felt a cold chill in the air and something bad was going to happen in the river nearby. With Naruto after a good well-made dinner, the four soon went into the car with Saber driving and the drive made its way towards near the bridge. The bridge was big for 6 war driveway and color red while having a big river underneath. Before anything could happen, the four then all of a sudden felt a servant nearby and in the river. In fact, they know who it was as they rushed down to the river's land side to see a center crazy servant standing in the middle of the river with his spellbook out and purple mist surrounding him. Castor was unleashing something, and it was big from the looks of it. Castor! Saber called out, getting the mad servant's attention, who creepy smiled at her. Oh, Joan, you have come to big event, will join me in this moment, Joan, my holy maiden, Castor said. Saber narrowed her eyes at the mad servant and shook her head, being her answer. Oh, I see, well that's too bad for what's to come next, Castor said as he keeps on chatting in unknown language. Really, Giles? You see Saber has Joan of Arc? That just sad, old friend, Jalter said with a smirk, getting Castor's attention to look at her. Castor's eyes widen on what he was looking at. He sees Jean Dark before him, just feet away from him. But he couldn't see this Jean was his Joan. He knows as her looks was different and aura was a way off. You can't be her. Not again. Damn God for cursing my mind. I am seeing this fake Joan while the real one is right there. Curse him and everyone. Castor shouted in pure rage and madness, getting the four to sweat drop of his actions. Okay, he lost it, Naruto said with an odd look on his face, knowing he mad person when he sees one. Jalter sighed and said, such a shame. I was hoping I will catch up with my old friend and give him a good beating for what he has done. But I will give Giles a good beating that is 6 feet into the ground. I agree, Jalter, Saber said as her cloths changed into her battle-armored dress for the battle that was coming. Naruto nodded his head and cloths changed into his battle wear as Jalter did the same and was in her battle outfit. Irisviel stood behind Naruto and Saber, keeping her space away and stay safe. Jalter was off from the sides of the three and all of them watched Castor unleashing his next spell. First the mist turned into fog, forming around the mad servant and water had horror demon creatures being created at will. His book was pouring a purple mana outward to the river, making more fog and monsters which creates poison in the river. Second the vortex raging magical energy overflowing from the tome beings to distort even the space around it. The monsters or horrors, increasing, begin to swallow the mad servant with their tentacles, covering his entire body. Third, swelling in numbers, the horrors begin to entwine and coalesce while rising out of the water as a large lump of meat. It still grows even more and soon formed into gigantic horror, becoming an aquatic giant befitting the name of sea demon. Naruto, Jalter, Saber and Irisviel were shocked of this giant monster and soon saw the river become dark, being poisoned and had a purple fog rising. Acting quickly on his feet, Naruto got down on one knee and started to trace a rune mark in the ground, writing something for the job. Soon enough a massive clear mist comes out of nowhere to cause the poison fog disappeared, creating a clear air and making a barrier for no one to see what was going. There we go, the rune I placed has cleared the air of any poison, have any civilians safe for the time being, and allow us to deal with Castor once and for all, Naruto informed as he gets up on his feet and draw his sword out. True, but this barrier won't stop other servants from coming or airfighters to see what's in the fog if they fly low, Jalter said, seeing some errors to this barrier. Indeed, but I hope some of the servants will join us in defeating this monster from the Grail War, Naruto said, hoping the other servants join him, Saber, and Jalter in fighting Castor. Anything can happen,
And I think a center king has come, Saber said as she hears a chariot and thunder coming down, which soon got the others' attention. The group run towards to see Ryder in her chariot, ready for battle.
Hail King of Knights, Watchers of the Grail War, Ryder greeted with a smile.
Ryder, what are you doing here? Saber asked, being a little on edge from the other night what Ryder said to her. Now hold on for just on a second, I have an offer. We are not going to any far battles if that monster Castor is around, so, I offer a pact of other servants to beat Castor, and I bump into Lancer on the way here. He should be arriving any minute now, Ryder said, offering a peaceful pact between servants in order to kill Castor.
That makes sense, there is more strength in numbers and more servants will be easily to beat Castor. Naruto, Jalter, Saber, and Irisviel shared a look, knowing Ryder was right, and nodded their heads in agreement. Very well, as ruler, I will allow an alliance between other servants, Avenger, and myself in defeating Castor for the night, Naruto agreeing with the alliance of the night.
As Avenger and fellow watcher of this grail, I agree with this alliance, Jalter said, having her mind made and have an idea that will help deal with Castor.
I will have my sword ready for the battle, Saber said. Good, now let's plan our battle out. My chariot shall have no problem in being near the river as it can fly, but what of you three? How will you deal with massive water before you? Ryder asked. My body has been blessed by the Lady of the Lake. No matter how deep the water is, I will be protected from the poisons and river's traps, Saber said with a smirk on her face.
Oh, that is very useful skill. Now I want you even more into my army, Ryder said with a grin.
Saber narrowed her eyes and said, I will deal with you later, but Castor comes first.
Agree, but we will need Castor out of the open if we can land a good hit on him, as that monster shields him from any attacks that can hurt him, Naruto said, seeing the monster had more than one layer of flesh and that could be problem.
Then we will drag him out. If we force Castor out in the open, my spear will strike a very deadly wound him, Lancer said as he comes out his spirit form before the other servants.
He was right. The red spear was deadly and can bypass any shields or armors with ease and strike a good deadly wound on its target. The spirit core, the heart of a heroic spirit, was a good target, so, it was called good and plan they can follow up on. That could work, let's try that first and see where it goes, Naruto said as he summoned 6 key blades by his sides and had his mana ready. Jalter nodded her head but had her plan in motion as she will deal with Castor's main source to stay in this world, his master. If she can deal with Castor's master, then it will much easy to deal with the mad servant. No master, then the servant will lose his mana slowly and will be wide open for an attack from a noble phantasm, so, she had her plans in motion that will help the others whole. Small time skip, with Archer. Such a monster in my gardens, this mongrel has no place in my sights, Archer said as she watches the servants attack horror and drink her wine.
She had summoned her golden craft with her setting on her throne, watching the battle takes place in the air. Yes, such a monster in your gardens, my king, Tokiomi agreed. While Tokiomi was not happy for having a female king of heroes, he was glad that he has the most powerful servant on his side. Now he needs Archer to deal with Castor and gain the command seals to make up for the ones he has lost. My king, are you going to allow this monster keep damaging your gardens? Help the others and show them your power of a true king, Tokiomi said, trying to get his servant to fight. Archer raised an eyebrow and said, "That though has crossed my mind, I will use a few of my weapons, nothing more." 4 golden ripples opened beside the golden aircraft, firing 2 swords and spears at the giant horror beast. The weapons were launched to Mark II and left behind massive cuts on its target, causing the monster to scream in pain and stop moving for a second. Soon enough the weapons vanished, coming back to the gates, and this didn't help a center mage. "There we go," Archer said as she drank some of her wine and watched Ruler and Saber cutting more tentacles off the beast.
That it, Tokiomi snapped. I said, I will use few of my weapons and nothing more. Having 4 of my price weapons touching that monster is not a good grace to me, Archer said with her eyes narrowed a little, not liking her master anymore. "You most help the other servants in killing Castor. Use Aya, my king. It is the only way you," Tokiomi offered but was cut off when Archer stands up for her throne with a glare on her face. "I will not use Aya. You better learn your place, Tokiomi, before I show it to you." Archer snapped, not wanting to use Aya due to her pride and not wanting to get Ruler got in the crossfire.
She was not going to lose her future king or let her master know of it.
Tokiomi grunted in anger that his servant won't listen to reason and was cross that he only had one command spell left. If he had some left, he will order his servant to use Aya, but now it was great risk to lose his servant to another mage or his servant itself. This was a big problem for him. With Naruto and the others. Naruto swung his sword, cutting some of flesh of horror and caused it to scream in pain. His key blades fire flame and ice-base magic, either freezing the monster for him to break parts or burning skin off. He was in the river with some rune-based protection marks on his legs, protecting him from any poisons, and kept fighting. Saber was in the river, fighting the monster as well by cutting some of its tentacles off.
Rider was flying in the air, cutting tentacles and flesh off from the beast. Lightning sparks off from the chariot, getting the monster to scream from its flesh burning, and kept the attacks going.
These attacks were not slowing or getting an open to strike at Caster. This was getting worse as the horror kept walking.
On land, Lancer was not seeing an opening and could tell that they need to do something to stop Caster. Irisviel saw it as well and started to think of plan that can work.
Jalter on the hand was doing her own plan, hunting Caster's master down, and know that will slow him down. The servant can't stay in this war for long without a master, but there was a problem. The servant of magecraft and spellcasting has a large enough of mana to last in the war for a while, but it might slow him down for a good plan to come into play. It was worth a shot, and the Avenger ruler class servant was going to help any way she can, and finding the master won't take long as she can see him talking like idiot and was just some feet away from her. That was easy, and now to kill the master. Jalter though, as she brings out her sword, summoning 3 swords out of flames and launch them to hit their target. The first 2 hit the fool's lugs, causing to gasp out blood out his mouth. The last one hit the heart, killing the bloody fool before the Avenger. Jalter snapped her fingers, causing flames to burn the master of Caster into ashes and leave nothing behind. Now one less trouble to worry about, and now Caster is left. But then, the Avenger started to see Berserker jumping onto AF-21 fighter jet and started to take control. She humbled as she watched Archer to take flight with her golden craft and the 2 servants battle each other in the sky. The white-haired servant chose to leave the 2 to themselves and head back with the others. Back at the main battle, Naruto was helping Saber as the 2 kept fighting the horror while Rider circled around the monster, thinking of a new plan and had one in mind. Saber, ruler, fall back. Rider called out, getting the 2 attention.
You want to leave? Saber questioned. Let's withdraw for now and plan a better battle plan. I have an idea. Rider responded as rides her chariot back to land. Naruto nodded his head agreement, which he and Saber get out of water and back to the land to hear Rider's plan. At this rate, the battle will be for nothing. I will hold Caster in my Ionian Heteroi, keeping the battle there, and while you plan a new attack to finish Caster, Rider said as she gets her master out of the chariot. Wait. But how we will know you are ready? Waver asked. I will send a massager, Rider replied as she took off with her chariot and towards the monster, getting herself ready to use her noble phantasm. With Archer in the battle, Archer and Berserker were battling within the sky, fighter against craft. The dogfight keeps going, and now Archer was close on blowing the mad servant out of the sky. How will it feel when smashing head first into the ground, Rabbit Dog? Archer asked with a smirk and arms crossed, having her golden craft going at high speed. The 2 aircrafts were going fast into the ground towards monster, but all of a sudden the horror disappeared within a white flash of light and Berserker pulled up, avoiding crashing into river. Archer grunted with a glare and had her craft pull upwards to follow the mad dog before her. The golden-haired servant wondered what was going and could guess that Rider was the cause of this. I wonder what will happen next, Archer mumbled to herself as she keeps following Berserker. With Naruto now with Rider has Caster, we can plan something out, and we need to hurry. It won't last long, Naruto said, knowing the limits that Rider can do, and they need a new plan. The black-haired ruler could use his noble phantasm, but that will cross of revealing his true name. It could be the only way, and maybe another servant could strike Caster down. There could be a way, but it requires Saber to use both of hands as her activates her sword's full power, Irisviel said, knowing that her servant could finish Caster off, but with the curse wound changes things. Lancer was taken back at this and looked Saber, who didn't look at him, knowing it was true. Is this true? Lancer asked. Yes, in order for me to use my sword at its full power, I need both my hands, but my left is wounded, Saber responded truly. I see, Lancer said, thinking of a way he could help and allow Saber to sue her hands. Seeing what he was going to do, Naruto placed a hand on Lancer's shoulder to get his attention and said, "I have a better way." Naruto then walked up to Saber, grabbing her hand careful and tranced a rune mark on her wound. He wrote a rune mark on the wound, making a blue letter burn into curse wound, and soon grabbed a yellow spark of energy in his hand. Saber clenched his left hand a couple times and was taken back of this cure. She was very grateful of this kindness that the black-haired teen did for her and stopped Lancer from destroying his yellow spear. "There we go. Saber's curse wound is removed," Naruto said as he draws out his sword and will add Saber's in destroying caster. "Why?" Lancer asked, wondering why Ruler will stop him and healed Saber's wound now. "Because I believe in the battle between knights and you should have a second chance to redeem your honor, dear Mudu Adwivna, Knight of Fianna," Naruto replied, truly, and believed the battle between knights should be fair. Lancer was taken back once again of Ruler, first stopping his first master from making a mistake and now stopping him from destroying his spear to allow himself and Saber to fight an honorable duel to the death. "My thanks, Ruler," Lancer said with a small bow. Naruto nodded his head in thanks and focus on what's to come next. "Rider's master, when the massager comes, tell him to have Rider transport caster about 200 yards away from the original spot as we have a plan to strike," Naruto ordered, which got a nod from the mage. The black-haired teen looked at blonde-haired knight, getting a nod on what's to come next. Saber took a deep breath, unleashing the air around her blade and show her golden sword before everyone after burst of air mana. Naruto had his sword at his sword, summoning 12 key blades with all them in different colors, and his blade was covered in blue mana. The two sword wielders were getting ready for their next attack. Saber walked into river, having her blade shine brighter for each step she took. Naruto was on the other side with his swords ready at the weight. Before anything else, bullets started to fire upon Saber all of a sudden, causing her dodge them by running, and used her sword to block the bullets. She looked up to see Berserker roaring as he fires more bullets. "Damn it, Berserker! Why now?" Saber shouted as she keeps moving to avoid the bullets. Naruto grunted and couldn't do anything due to him powering up for his next attack, but he didn't need to anything as he saw Lancer jumping on the back of the fighter and swung at the wings with his spear. The fighter jet was destroyed, but Berserker grabbed a minigun and started to aim towards Saber. Saber narrowed her eyes as she gets ready to unleash her sword's power onto Berserker instead caster. But that was stopped when 4 axes came out of nowhere and spin towards the mad servant. Berserker grunted in pain on having the axes hit him and his gun, causing it to explode and send the servant crash landing into the water. "Archer?" Saber asked, seeing the golden-haired servant on a bridge with her arms crossed and gates used. This was the opening, and Saber took the chance to keep on powering her noble phantasm. Soon enough the horror creature was back due to Rider's limit and she flew around. "About time. I wonder what took so long," Rider asked as she flew away for what's to come next. Naruto and Saber, with their blades covered in mana, were ready and started to get their swords for their next attack. The blonde-haired knight's sword shone brighter in a golden light as she raises her sword in her hands and caused golden dust to fly around her. She closed her eyes, gathering up the mana she needs, and soon aims her sword towards her target. The black-haired teen was ready and started his chat as he swings his sword, causing blue dust of energy to fly around him. "Awaken my sword, the song has started." Naruto started as a blue angel symbol appeared behind him, and soon his key blades formed into wings, flipping a few times, and wings broke to have 6 blades on each side of their wielder. Saber opened her eyes as she takes a step forward, having wind spin around her, the water spin as well, and sword shine brighter. "A song of hope for everyone's hearts to share. I shall share song and hope with this strike." Naruto kept his chat going, having his sword shine a blue and key blades shine in different colors that took aim to their targets. Saber started, having her shin outwards with golden mana coming outwards from her sword and close on bring her sword down. The two sword wielders soon ready as they bring their swords to the potion they want and finished their chat for their noble phantasm's power to awaken by their true name. Joyeuse Ordra. Exemplify the heroic king, O 12 radiant swords that travels the wide world. Caliber. Sword of promised victory. The two sword users shouted as their swords fired. The two symbolizes and physical ideas of their heroism. Blue beam of mana fires downwards towards the horror beast. stopping it and causing to scream in pain before the keg blades fired a hailstorm of different manas color with different colors and crashed against the monster. A powerful golden beam of holy light fires at the horror monster at the front, cutting its way past the flesh and towards its target. The light kept burning away the monster and towards Castor himself, but he didn't scream in pain. No, instead he saw someone he cares and saw through all the wrong he has done. He smiles with tears in his eyes as he saw the one pure Joan of Arc smiling at him and offered her hand in friendship to her friend. He did as the attack destroyed him and his beast. The battle was over, Castor was done, with Archer and Rider. What a beautiful attack from Ruler and Saber, such two wonderful swords should be held by them, rulers. Archer commented with a smirk on her face, being happy of her future king's attack and now knows what Joyas belongs to. She was now looking forward on making Ruler her one and only king that shall be her other half. Soon enough Rider came, setting across from the golden-haired servant and said, "Truly a powerful attack from both. Saber and Ruler are true idea rulers of their time and own great respects from me, and from the looks you as well." "Indeed, but they are still below me, however, I have feeling no for long," Archer said with her smirk not leaving her face as she looks at Ruler putting his swords away. Rider knew it was true and could see that Archer was taking a great liking towards the black-haired teen, which she also come to a liking as well. She wonders how Ruler could have that calm and kindness aura that sparks how different as he was his own king. Also, she could see that her and other servant want share the same ideas. "I can it you want to fight for Ruler's hand, King of Babylon?" Rider guessed, knowing the true name and wonder who will win Ruler. Archer turned her attention towards Rider and said, "Oh really, fight for Ruler's hand? While the thought has crossed my mind and it has, I think that will happen soon enough but not tonight and I will allow you to rest Rider, just this one time, just this once, I will allow it and want to fight where you are at you fullest." Rider could see the challenge and looks it as beats into heart. "I will take it, and I think you need break after dealing with Berserker almost all night," Rider said with a smile on her face and laugh a little. Archer struggled her shoulders and said, "Maybe Rider but be ready as I won't hold back against a king and will fight for what's mine in the next battle." "Then I look forward to it," Rider said as she disappeared into her spirit form and meet up with her master, knowing it has been a long night and rest was needed. Archer looked back at Ruler one last time with small blush and smile on her face, wanting to be her future king soon enough. She noticed that Saber, Avenger, Saber's master, and now Rider has a thing for her king, which she was not bothered by this and welcomes it with the thought that her best friend might like Ruler as well. Thanks for watching.